Chapter 680. 680 Chapter 680 General Jade. Moreover, as the seven-colored Taoist's mental energy fire was refined and fused with his, it also brought with it some scattered fragments. It was fragments of the seven-colored Taoist's experience in alchemy, pill-making, and inscription formations. This was the seven-colored Taoist's lifetime of experience in cultivating the path of inscriptions. It slowly merged with Lu Ming's mental energy fire and was mastered by him. Lu Ming simply wanted to laugh out loud. It was an opportunity, a supreme opportunity. After all, Lu Ming had only cultivated the inscription Dao for a short period of time. Although his mental energy fire was perfect at every level, he was still lacking in experience and knowledge. Although he had mastered millions of Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 inscriptions given to him by Dandan, he did not know how to combine them or how to use them. This was something that had to be explored slowly. This was experience. Now, however, he had refined the seven-colored Taoist's mental energy fire and integrated it with his experience. Although the experience points were still scattered, as long as Lu Ming refined more and more mental energy flames from the seven-colored Taoist, he would definitely gain more experience points. His knowledge of the Tao of inscription would definitely advance by leaps and bounds. Although the true dragon's blood had already been burned dry by the seven-colored Taoist, it was enough for him to obtain such an opportunity. To Lu Ming, it was even more precious than a ball of true dragon's blood. At this moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes. In his sea of consciousness, refining the mental energy fire was not something that could be done in a short period of time. He was refining it at all times, and Lu Ming's mental energy fire was improving at all times. "Ha, kid, you've earned big this time, haven't you?" Dandan laughed when she saw Lu Ming opening his eyes. "Not bad, we've indeed earned big." Lu Ming smiled faintly. Xian Yanqing's face was still blushing. He blinked his big eyes at Lu Ming and then looked in other directions, as if he did not dare to look at Lu Ming. "Hey, little Qing, we seem to have other things to do just now. Why don't we continue now?" Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing with a smile. Xian Yanqing's face turned red. She knew that Lu Ming must have heard everything that had happened. "Continue, my ass. A big pervert with a perverted turtle, they are indeed jackals of the same tribe." Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth and turned away, his face red with embarrassment. He did not want to look at Lu Ming. "Little brat, I'm really kind this time, right? Hurry up and reward me with some spirit herbs." Dandan shouted. "Not bad, not bad. You're a good friend this time. Here, a reward for you." Lu Ming took out more than 10 stalks of level 5 spiritual herbs and threw them to Dandan. She was overjoyed. She opened her mouth and swallowed them all. "Lu Ming." At the sight of this, Xian Yanqing gritted his teeth. His eyes were as big as copper bells, and there was a raging fire in his eyes. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws as he pounced on Lu Ming. "Let's see what other treasures are in the hall." Lu Ming quickly changed the topic and dashed into the hall in a flash. After walking around the hall, he realized that there was nothing there. It was completely empty. Where were the treasures left behind by the seven-colored Taoist after his death? What about the storage ring? Why wasn't there any? Lu Ming was a little depressed. If he had known earlier, he would have forced the seven-colored Taoist to tell him where the treasure was hidden before killing him. It turned around and returned to the Flood Dragon's side. Unfortunately, the seven-colored Taoist had burned the Flood Dragon's blood and essence. Otherwise, the Flood Dragon's blood essence would be a great supplement, and even the real dragon's blood could be refined. This Flood Dragon's corpse is full of treasures. Put it away. Lu Ming waved his hand and kept the Flood Dragon's corpse into a storage ring. Xian Yanqing followed Lu Ming angrily. "Little Qing, let's go out," Lu Ming said with a smile. Xian Yanqing snorted coldly. He ignored Lu Ming and walked out. Lu Ming smiled and followed him out. When he arrived at the square, he found that the spiritual practitioner Han Dao and the other man were still trapped there. "Little bastard, stop right there. Where's the Flood Dragon? What treasure did you obtain? Hand it over." The spiritual practitioner called out as soon as he saw Lu Ming and the other man. "Idiot, you're really an idiot. I think you've lived for so many years in vain. In this situation, you're not kneeling down and begging me, but threatening me." Lu Ming shook his head and said in disdain, "Little bastard, what did you just say?" The spiritual practitioner Han Dao roared. Lu Ming shook his head. He could not be bothered to waste his breath. He replaced thousands of spiritual crystals around the formation, increasing the power of the formation. "The two of you, enjoy your time here." Lu Ming waved his hands and swaggered away with Xian Yanqing. Behind them, only the spiritual practitioner Han Dao and the red monster's angry roars could be heard. "I say, Dandan, that form-shifting and shadow-changing talisman of yours is quite useful. Make a few more of them when you have time." On the way, Lu Ming looked at Dandan in anticipation. "All right, give me the materials." "The shape jade." Dandan stretched out a claw and said, "Shape jade? What shape jade?" Lu Ming was stunned. "Of course it's the materials. How can I make it without the shape jade? I saw that you didn't have any either. I found the previous few when I saw you cleaning up other people's storage rings, so I went over to make a few form-shifting shadow-changing talismans." Dandan pouted and said. Lu Ming remembered that there was indeed a time when Dandan coaxed and pestered him and took a piece of jade from him. Initially, he thought that it was an ordinary jade. He did not expect it to be a shape jade. "Lu Ming, let me tell you, the shape-shifting jade is very rare. With my current ability, I can only refine it and use it in a level 6 inscription formation. The formation that the 7-colored Taoists set up is only as powerful as a normal level 6 inscription formation after so many years. That's why it can be used. So, don't even think about using the shape-shifting shadow-changing talisman to walk through all kinds of formations. That's not realistic." Dandan ruthlessly attacked. Lu Ming was depressed. He initially had that idea to let Dandan refine a bunch of form-shifting and shadow-changing talismans. Then he would not have to fear any big arrays in the future. It seemed that there was no such thing as a free lunch in the world. The 2 people and 1 turtle followed the original path and left the area full of inscription formations without any danger. "Let's go to other places and search for spirit herbs," Lu Ming said. Following that, they chose another direction and went to search for spirit medicines. Although the Rainbow Island was huge, it was still limited. This place had already been turned over. In the next 3 days, although the 2 of them had some gains, it was not much. However, Lu Ming's mental energy fire had changed drastically. His mental energy fire was increasing rapidly at every moment. In just 3 days, not only had he lit 10 spirit lamps at the 3rd rank, but he had also become a 4th rank alchemist. Now, he had already lit 8 green spirit lamps. A 4th level alchemist with 8 green lamps. In just 3 short days, Lu Ming's mental energy fire had advanced by a whole realm. However, he had only refined a small portion of the 7-colored Taoist's mental energy fire in his spiritual sea. There was still a large portion that had yet to be refined. Chapter 681. 681 Spirit Warrior of the Cold War Saber. The 7-colored Taoist was a 7th rank true inscription refiner. At every rank, he had at least 6 spirit lamps lit. How large was his spirit fire? Although Lu Ming lit up 10 spirit lamps at each level, he was only a 3rd level alchemist previously. He was still far from being a 7th level alchemist. For example, a martial grandmaster realm martial artist and a spirit embryo realm martial artist were worlds apart. Therefore, the spiritual fire of the 7-colored Taoist was still causing Lu Ming's spiritual fire to continue to grow rapidly. Moreover, it contained fragments of the 7-colored Taoist's experience. Lu Ming's experience in alchemy and inscription formations was becoming more and more abundant. "Look, there's another palace up ahead." Xian Yanqing suddenly pointed to the front and said in surprise. Lu Ming looked over. Indeed, there was a mountain range in front of him. On one of the mountains, there was a palace. Could it be that the 7-colored Taoist has more than one palace? Could it be that all his treasures are hidden in the palace in front? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Obviously, Xian Yanqing had the same guess. Kill our way over and snatch all the treasures. Dandan shouted. Buzz. Buzz. Lu Ming turned into 2 streaks of rainbow light and flew in that direction. But not long after, they stopped. In front of them, there were 2 rays of light, one in front and one behind, speeding towards them. In front of him was a golden sword light. In the sword light was a young man in his 20s. He was extremely handsome and exuded a powerful aura. Obviously, the young man was being chased by a light from behind. The ray of light behind him was an old man. Spiritual practitioner Han Dao. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were shocked to see the old man behind them. The person chasing after him was actually spiritual practitioner Han Dao. But wasn't he trapped in the big array in the square? He had actually escaped and even appeared here. However, looking at the spiritual practitioner Han Dao's aura, he should have been severely injured and was far from his peak state. He was at most at the 2nd level of the spiritual ocean tier. Kid, hand over the treasure and I'll spare your life. The spiritual being Han Dao shouted. However, the young man had no intention of paying attention to them. He flew forward at top speed and flew past Lu Ming and the others. What? The spiritual practitioner Han Dao was in hot pursuit. He glanced at Lu Ming and was stunned for a moment before he shouted, "Little bastard, it's you. You deserve to die." With an angry roar, the spirit warrior Han Dao stopped chasing the young man and pounced on Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. His eyes were filled with deep hatred. From this, it could be seen how much he hated Lu Ming. He had directly abandoned the young man. Lu Ming's expression was grave and the infinite dragon spear appeared in his hands. Sky Devil Force Field. Xian Yanqing reached out his hand, and a huge Sky Demon Power Field covered the spirit warrior. However, the spiritual practitioner Han Dao was indeed powerful. Although he was injured, the vital essence in his body was still extremely powerful. His vital essence burst forth and broke through the Sky Demon Force Field, charging toward Lu Ming and the other man. Destruction cut. Cut. Xian Yanqing shouted again. Destructive cutting power burst out of the Sky Demon Force Field. The terrifying cutting power seemed to be able to cut open the space. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao shouted angrily. His body was covered in white ice, which looked like a suit of ice armor. He continued to rush forward. Kill! Lu Ming held the infinite dragon spear and rushed into the Sky Demon Power Field. The spear's gleam was aimed at the cold saber spiritual practitioner's throat. Lu Ming was not restricted in the slightest in the demonic power field, just like he was outside. The Sky Demon Force Field was completely under Xian Yanqing's control. Clang! The spiritual practitioner Han Dao slashed his saber and blocked Lu Ming's long spear. Lu Ming's body trembled and he retreated. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao's realm was too high. Even though he was injured, his combat strength was still terrifying. Little bastard, die. You will all die today. The killing intent in the eyes of the spiritual practitioner Han Dao was so strong that it couldn't be dispersed. 3 days ago, he and the red-haired old monster had been trapped in the formation for half a day and had almost died. Fortunately, there were other people who had arrived there and helped them to destroy the foundation of the formation. Although he had managed to escape, he had been severely injured and had yet to fully recover. One could imagine how much he hated Lu Ming and Lin Feng. Boom! Boom! The 9-dragon bloodline and his 2nd bloodline were activated at the same time, and Lu Ming's combat strength increased greatly. 9th level king. Both bloodlines are 9th level king. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao cried out in disbelief as he was almost scared to death. When one's bloodline was activated, it was inevitable that one's bloodline level would be exposed. It was simply unbelievable that both of his bloodlines were king-class 9th level. Kill! Lu Ming shouted. After his blood meridian exploded, his combat strength increased and he charged towards the spiritual practitioner with the frost saber. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao wanted to kill him, so why wouldn't he want to kill him too? Otherwise, it wouldn't feel good to be targeted by such a despicable old monster. Who knew if the other party would do something behind his back? This brat is too terrifying. He must die. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao was even more determined to kill Lu Ming. His blade glowed as he fought with Lu Ming. However, under the influence of the demonic power field, he was greatly affected. It would not be easy for him to defeat Lu Ming. I'll smash it. Dandan shrank back into the turtle shell and suddenly smashed towards the spirit warrior Han Dao's face. However, Sea of Soul Realm warriors who had comprehended the second-level intent could already control the nature's attributes to form armor that covered their entire body. They rushed over, but they only hit the ice armor on the face of the spirit warrior Han Dao. Nest, I haven't recovered enough. Otherwise, I would have smashed through that old man's ice layer. Dandan flew back to Lu Ming's shoulder and mumbled, looking for another chance to launch a sneak attack. Whoosh! At this moment, a golden sword light flew over. The golden-robed young man from before had actually returned. Before he had even arrived, a golden sword chi, extremely sharp, cut through the void and slashed towards the spirit warrior Han Dao. Brat, let's die together. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao shouted angrily and waved his blade to block the sword light. Buzz! The golden-robed young man appeared in the air and swept his gaze across the room. His eyes finally landed on Lu Ming. Shura? The king of hell. Lu Ming said. He could tell from this person's aura that he was the king of hell. The other party had obviously recognized him. How about we join forces? Kill this old man. The king of hell spoke. Just what I wanted. Lu Ming had a smile on his face. Hell King's combat strength was extremely terrifying. With him, they could fight against the injured spiritual practitioner Han Dao. Golden Light Vibration Sword. King Yama was straightforward and attacked directly. The dazzling golden sword chi emitted an extremely sharp intent as if it could cut through everything. Hell King had comprehended the metal will and had reached level 2. The metal will was known for its sharpness. Xian Yanqing's Sky Demon Force field naturally did not hinder the King of Hell. At the same time, Lu Ming appeared and thrust his long spear forward. A three-colored true dragon flew out and pounced at the spirit warrior Han Dao. Facing the attacks of the three people, spiritual practitioner Han Dao slashed out blade lights towards the three people. With a loud boom, the two sides were evenly matched. Chapter 682. 682 Escaping into the Void. Then the spear light, sword light, and saber light rose again and collided fiercely. Whoosh! Whoosh! Streaks of sword chi and saber chi shot in all directions. One could clearly see with the naked eye that there were traces in the nearby space. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao was injured and suppressed by the Sky Demon Force field. On the other hand, Lu Ming and the King of Hell could unleash their full power. For a time, the battle between the four of them was extremely intense. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, heaven and earth began to shake. The four of them could feel the Rainbow Island shaking violently, and the shaking was getting more and more intense. Not good. The seven-colored island is about to return to the void. Let's go. In the distance, a martial artist shouted. How do we leave? Fly to the sky. The seven-colored island is covered by the inscription formation. As long as you fly to the sky and break through the inscription formation, you can leave. Hurry. Buzz. And NBSP, whoosh. One could see streaks of light appearing from the mountains and flying into the sky at high speed. The expressions of Lu Ming and the rest changed. However, everyone was in a state of anxiety, and no one stopped. If one side stopped and the other side took advantage of the situation to attack, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. However, the four of them also consciously charged toward the sky, fighting as they flew. After flying for tens of thousands of meters, one could see that there was indeed a light screen above their heads, covering the seven-colored island. In the distance, rainbow lights kept bombarding the light screen, then breaking through it and disappearing. Boom! As the four of them fought, When they reached the edge of the light curtain was naturally pierced through, and the four of them rushed out. Lu Ming appeared outside and realized that he was floating in the air. Not far away, a part of the Rainbow Island had already escaped into the void. The remaining part was also constantly entering the void and would soon disappear. Around the seven-colored island, there were figures that kept flashing and appearing. They were the people who came from the seven-colored island. Clang! Not far away, a dazzling golden light flashed. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao and the King of Hell were closer to each other. He made the first move, wanting to kill one of them first before dealing with Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. How could Lu Ming let him have his way? He took one step with the 9 dragons' sky-treading steps and turned into a stream of light. He appeared behind the spiritual practitioner in an instant and directly greeted him with his long spear. Detestable! The King of Hell had been on guard against him. His sudden attack did not severely injure the King of Hell. On the other hand, Lu Ming's speed and reaction were terrifyingly fast. He arrived immediately, foiling his plan to severely injure the King of Hell in one fell swoop. Boom! The next moment, a huge pressure pressed down on Han Dao's body, and Xian Yanqing followed closely behind. This made the spiritual being Han Dao so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Among the three of them, Xian Yanqing was the one who gave him the biggest headache. The suppression of the Sky Demon Force field and the sneak attack of the destructive cutting made it impossible for him to use all his strength. Lu Ming and the King of Hell were in charge of the fierce attacks. He was confident that he could easily crush and kill any one of them alone, but it would be too difficult to deal with the three of them together. This area was boiling with excitement as the battle was extremely intense. The people nearby were all alarmed. That's the spiritual practitioner Han Dao. Who are those three? He can actually fight with the spiritual practitioner Han Dao? What powerful battle strength! These three young men are all peak-tier kings. Unbelievable! Peak-tier kings can actually fight against spirit warrior Han Dao? Azura, Yama, and Yaksha. That's right, it's the three of them. Their moves are exactly the same. They actually joined forces to fight against the spiritual practitioner with the cold saber. What's going on? Oh my God, it must be the three of them. I guess they had a conflict on the seven-colored island. Most of the people around were peak-tier kings, and there were a few Sea of Soul Realm experts. All of them were shocked by this scene. Spiritual warrior Han Dao was a powerful existence at the peak of the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean realm. They could see that his aura was weak and he should be injured, but this was already shocking enough. Many people stood in the air and watched from afar. Boom, boom, boom. The seven-colored island continued to sink into the void and soon disappeared. The commotion on the Rainbow Island shook the entire Golden Sand Island. Countless figures flew over and watched in shock as the Rainbow Island was about to disappear. At the same time, they were also shocked by the battle between Lu Ming and the others and the spiritual practitioner Han Dao. Feng Chuan, come and help me kill these 3 little bastards. Spiritual warrior Han Dao called out. He called an expert at the 1st level of the spiritual ocean realm who was watching nearby. Feng Chuan was an old acquaintance of the Cold Saber spiritual practitioner, but they were not close friends. At that moment, Feng Chuan's expression changed. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and the King of Hell were too powerful. Even if he attacked, he might not be able to kill them in one blow. If they counterattacked, he might die here. Furthermore, the other party was still so young and had shocking potential. If he didn't kill them all, he would have to hide and not dare to appear when the other party broke through to the spirit ocean realm. Therefore, he hesitated and couldn't make a decision. Feng Chuan, what are you waiting for? Do you want to die? The spiritual being Han Dao threatened. Feng Chuan's expression turned ugly again. Kill! Xian Yanqing shouted and pressed his arm again. A beautiful arm formed. The arm was huge, and the palm alone was 10 meters wide. It pressed towards the spirit warrior. This was Xian Yanqing's bloodline martial skill. Gakudo Path Attack. Golden Light Tear. Lu Ming and the King of Hell also unleashed their strongest attacks. They had to end the battle as soon as possible. The longer it dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao knew many people, but they were outsiders and didn't know many people. The three of them all used their strongest killing moves. The spirit warrior Han Dao's expression changed and he used all his power to defend. Bang! The three's power landed on the spiritual being Han Dao's body. The spiritual being Han Dao's blade light was destroyed, and the ice armor covering his body was also not cracked. He screamed and his body flew far away, spitting out a large amount of blood. Kill! Lu Ming and the other two pounced on the spiritual practitioner Han Dao crazily. Cold Blade Storm. An abnormal color flashed across the spiritual practitioner Han Dao's face. He slashed hundreds of times in an instant, aiming at Lu Ming and the other two. Break! The three of them joined hands to destroy the spiritual practitioner's Cold Blade Storm with one strike and then rushed towards him. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao's face turned pale. He was actually at a disadvantage. If this continued, he would be in danger. At this moment, a scarlet sword chi crossed the void and slashed at Lu Ming and the other two. The three of them were shocked and blocked the sword light, but their bodies could not help but stop. Buzz! An old man in a red robe appeared and stood in front of the spiritual practitioner. It was the red-haired old monster. Already you're here. Good, let's kill these three little bastards together. Seeing the crimson old monster, the spiritual being Han Dao was overjoyed. However, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and the King of Hell's faces turned grave. The three of them stood side by side, staring at the spiritual practitioner Han Dao and the crimson old monster. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao alone was already hard enough to deal with, and now there was the crimson old monster. Chapter 683. 683 The Identity of the King of Hell. The red-haired old monster was the same as the spiritual practitioner with the frost saber. He had also been injured in the formation, but the severity of his injuries was unknown. If he had retained his combat strength, which was similar to or even stronger than the spiritual practitioner with the frost saber, they would be in trouble. But today, it was impossible to kill the spiritual practitioner Han Dao. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao and the crimson old monster closed in on Lu Ming and the other two. In the surroundings, everyone was watching with rapt attention. They were all extremely curious in their hearts. Would the three geniuses who were like the sun at midday die at the hands of two old monsters? Buzz! At this moment, a golden pagoda appeared on King Yama's body. The golden pagoda emitted a dazzling golden light that was even more dazzling than the sun. The rays of golden light seemed to be extremely sharp sword chi. Golden Light Sword Pagoda. The spiritual warrior Han Dao and the crimson old monster couldn't help but exclaim when they saw the golden pagoda. It's the Golden Light Sword Pagoda. Around him, the others also exclaimed in shock. You're from the Gold Sword sect. The red-haired old monster said with a serious expression. To the west of the chaotic astral ocean, there is a large domain called the Golden Light Domain. In the eastern wastelands, the Golden Light Domain is extremely famous. It's not a small domain, but rather a large domain with extremely terrifying strength. The number one sect in the Golden Light region was the Golden Sword sect. Although the Golden Light region was also under the control of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, and the Golden Sword sect was also a subordinate force of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace, the Golden Sword sect's authority in the Golden Light region was extremely great. It was almost on the same level as the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace's branch palace in the Golden Light region. From this, one could see how powerful the Golden Sword sect was. As for the Golden Light Sword Pagoda, it was owned only by the true geniuses of the Golden Sword sect. It was extremely famous and had exposed the fact that the Starry Sea was close to the Golden Light region, so it was natural that he had heard of it. I'm Jian Filiu. The King of Hell slowly reported his name. What? You're Jian Filiu from the Golden Sword sect, the 788th on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. As soon as King Yama finished speaking, the red-haired old monster and the spiritual practitioner Han Dao's expressions changed. A series of exclamations rang out in the surroundings. Hell King was Jian Filiu, who was ranked 788th on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. Many people were shocked. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's gazes flickered as well. They had heard of Jian Filiu, who was on the list of top 1,000 talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. He was ranked 788th, much stronger than Li Xiaoyan. Old Ghost Cold Saber, let's just forget about today's matter. The red-haired old monster's expression changed as he spoke to the spiritual practitioner Han Dao. He wasn't afraid of Jian Filiu, but he was afraid of the Gold Sword sect behind Jian Filiu. What are you afraid of? If we kill them today and find a small island to hide on, will the Metal Sword sect be able to find us? The spiritual practitioner Han Dao revealed a vicious look and said, "Moreover, these kids all have precious treasures. We'll split them evenly. Ready, don't be so gutless." The spiritual practitioner Han Dao's eyes were cold. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing entered the hall. When they went in to take a look, it was empty. Even the flood dragon was gone. He speculated that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing must have obtained the treasure inside. Moreover, his hatred for Lu Ming was too strong. He would not be satisfied if he did not kill Lu Ming. Jian Filiu had gotten the treasure from the other palace, so he didn't want to let them go. The red-haired old monster's expression also changed. He was also very tempted by the treasure that could catch the attention of the spiritual practitioner. Han Bing, if you want to kill us, let's see if you have the ability. You think I don't have life-saving items on me when I'm out adventuring? From another perspective, if I control the Golden Sword Pagoda with all my might, do you think you can stop me? I'm confident that I can kill one of you. Which one of you is here to die? Jian Filiu sneered as he looked at the Ice Spirit Warrior and the Red Monster. The Ice Spirit Warrior and the Red Monster's faces turned ugly. They knew that Jian Filiu was right. Would a heaven's favorite like Jian Filiu not have any life-saving items? The Golden Sword Pagoda was also a famous treasure. With Jian Filiu's cultivation, it was difficult to control it. However, if he was forced to fight to the death, one of them might be killed. Brother Jian, there's no need to waste words with them. I also have something on me. If I use it with all my might, it'll be enough to kill one of them. Lu Ming said coldly. This caused the expressions of the icy spiritual being and the red monster to change again, and they could not help but retreat a distance. They had no choice but to believe that Lu Ming was telling the truth. Lu Ming was so young and his combat strength was not inferior to Jian Filiu's. He was definitely from a major force. It was very possible that he had a treasure on him to protect himself. Moreover, there was still Xian Yanqing. They began to hesitate. This was the advantage of being a powerful force. It was not something that these itinerant cultivators could compare to. Lu Ming looked at the spiritual practitioner Han Dao and the crimson old monster coldly. What he said just now was half true and half false. He did have a killer move, which was the Thunder Cauldron. However, if he used the Thunder Cauldron, he would be at the mercy of others. In such an environment, Lu Ming did not intend to use the Thunder Cauldron at all. He only said it to scare the Cold Saber spiritual practitioner and the Crimson Old Monster. In my opinion, let's just forget about today's matter. After pondering for a while, the red-haired old monster spoke. Obviously, he didn't dare to gamble with his life. Spiritual practitioner Han Dao's expression was unsightly and he was very unwilling. However, since the Crimson Old Monster had retreated, he could not do anything to Lu Ming and the others. If he was not careful, he might even be killed by them. You little bastards, just wait until I recover from my injuries and see how I'll kill you. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao roared in his heart. If he was in his prime, he was absolutely confident that he could kill Lu Ming and Jian Filiu before they could use their secret treasures. Let's go. The spiritual practitioner Han Dao glanced at Lu Ming and the others. He and the Crimson Old Monster turned into two streaks of light and flew into the distance, disappearing from this place. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the seven-colored island had completely disappeared into the void. The void had returned to its calm state. How should I address you? I really admire your cultivation and battle strength. Jian Filiu kept the golden sword pagoda and cupped his fists at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. I'm Lu Ming. Lu Ming also cupped his fists and smiled. Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing said coldly. Lu Ming? Xian Yanqing? Jian Filiu thought for a while. Apparently, he had never heard of these two people. Then he smiled bitterly and said, I've heard that many geniuses and proud sons of heaven have emerged in this golden age. It seems it's true. I've met geniuses who are on the same level as those on the list of top 1,000 talents along the way. There are more than 5 of them now. No wonder the secret Chamber of Commerce didn't release a new list when it was time for the list to be updated. I guess there are too many new geniuses, and it's hard for the Chamber of Commerce to control all of them. Lu Ming nodded. He was puzzled too. The list of top 1,000 talents would be updated once every 2 years. According to the time, the 2 years should have passed. However, the new list of top 1,000 talents had not been updated. It was obviously related to the current era. The great era was coming, and the geniuses were rising. Although the secret Chamber of Commerce was powerful, it was difficult to control all of them. If he wanted to know how many geniuses there were, he could only wait until the Battle of Providence began. Chapter 684. 684 Spirit Ring. Jian Filiu showed off his abilities in battle, but he was still very easygoing. Moreover, when they were on the Rainbow Island, he could have taken the opportunity to escape, but he turned around to help Lu Ming and the rest deal with the spiritual practitioner Han Dao. His character was not bad and Lu Ming had a good impression of him. Xian Yanqing stood at the side and did not say anything. Lu Ming chatted with Jian Filiu for a while before Jian Filiu bade him farewell. Brother Lu, Miss Xie, we can't stay on the Golden Sand Island for long. If the spiritual practitioner Han Dao recovers, he will definitely not let you go. I plan to leave the Golden Sand Island. What about you? Jian Filiu said. Yes, we are too. Lu Ming nodded. All right then, see you again if we're fated. Jian Filiu cupped his fists and disappeared. Let's go. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked at each other and left the place. News of this battle was bound to spread, and it would spread even further. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were indeed planning to leave Golden Sand Island. During this period of time, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing had gained a lot. They needed to find a quiet place to digest their gains. Xian Yanqing's Destruction Intent Realm and Wind Intent Realm were about to merge successfully. She needed to find a place to seclude herself and break through in one go. As for Lu Ming, he had yet to take a good look at the prison-suppressing heavenly art that he had obtained from the prison-suppressing steel. Also, the 7-colored Taoist's mental energy fire was constantly being refined. He needed to go into seclusion for a period of time to properly digest it. The two of them flew toward the west of the Golden Sand Island. Soon, they crossed the entire Golden Sand Island and arrived at the western seaside. Lu Ming's hand moved and a map appeared in his hand. This is the map of the chaotic astral ocean that he bought on Golden Sand Island. On the map, there is an ocean with countless stars in it. Those are islands. Golden Sand Island was relatively close to the east. After a while, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing rose into the air and flew west. They planned to find an uninhabited island and cultivate in seclusion for a while. After Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing left, Jian Filiu appeared on the other side of the sea. With a move of his hand, a metal box appeared. On the metal box, inscriptions circulated and sealed the metal box. I got this from the palace on the Rainbow Island. It's marked with the words, Secret Key to the Martial Emperor's Treasure. I wonder if it's real? Jian Filiu murmured as his eyes glowed. The words, Martial Emperor's Treasure, were too attractive. Regardless of whether it's real or fake, it must be extraordinary since it's in the 7-colored Taoist collection. Unfortunately, there's an inscription formation sealing it. It looks like I'll have to spend some time to open the seal. After saying that, Jian Filiu put away the iron box and flew out of the Great Sea, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were extremely fast. After flying for 2 days, they finally found a deserted island. The deserted island was not big, with a radius of less than 100 miles, and no one lived there. The two of them landed on the deserted island and sorted out the things they had obtained on the Rainbow Island. And NBSP, he had obtained quite a few things this time. Supreme-grade spirit crystals, cultivation techniques, and even intent crystals were quite abundant. Spirit herbs were the most abundant. The two of them split it evenly, then each found a place and began to cultivate in seclusion. Dandan, take advantage of this time to inscribe inscriptions above level 4. Also, give me some inscription arrays. I have time to study them. In Dandan's mind, who knew how many inscriptions and inscription formations she had mastered, so she naturally had to make good use of them. Exchange it with spirit herbs. Dandan took the opportunity to ask for spirit herbs. Take it. Lu Ming took out a handful of level 5 spiritual medicine and threw it to Dandan. On the Rainbow Island, Lu Ming had obtained a lot of spirit herbs and was rich. Dandan took the spirit herb and ran off to inscribe inscriptions. Lu Ming sat cross-legged, his mind sinking into his sea of consciousness. In his sea of consciousness, 10 green spirit lamps were burning. That's right. Lu Ming had lit up 10 green spirit lamps over the past few days and had reached the perfect stage of a 4th-level alchemist. Next, he was going to break through to become a 5th-rank inscriber. Becoming a 5th-rank alchemist was a hurdle. Once crossed, there would be a qualitative change. A true alchemist would have terrifying combat power. Lu Ming activated the meditation of the Dark God. The core flowing flame in his sea of consciousness burned even more fiercely, continuously refining the mental fire of the 7-colored Taoist. The spiritual fire of the 7-colored Taoist had already shrunk, but there was still a lot left. In the near future, Lu Ming's mental energy would still advance by leaps and bounds. And NBSP, hoo-hoo. Wisps of mental energy fire floated down and fused with Lu Ming's own mental energy fire. His mental energy fire grew stronger and stronger. 3 hours later, the 10 green mind lamps suddenly went out. Then, on the first mind lamp, a wisp of flame slowly appeared. It was a green flame. Green mental fire, a level 5 alchemist. Boom! The moment the green flame appeared, Lu Ming's mind shook and there was a loud rumble. Buzz! At this moment, 5 halos of 5 colors suddenly appeared above Lu Ming's head. At the bottom was a red ring of light. On the ring of light, there were 10 evenly distributed dots that emitted a bright light like the stars. Counting from the bottom to the top, the second halo was orange and also had 10 dots. It was extremely resplendent. The third halo was yellow and also had 10 dots. The fourth halo was green and also had 10 dots. Only the 5th light ring was different. It was green, but there was only 1 dot on it. Spirit ring. Lu Ming's heart stirred. As long as an inscriber reached level 5, they would have a spirit ring. Each color of the spirit ring represented the corresponding level. For example, the bottommost ring represented a 1st-level alchemist, and the 10 points on top represented the number of spirit lamps lit. In the first 4 levels, Lu Ming had lit up 10 mental lamps. Hence, there were 10 bright spots. If he only lit up 5 lamps at a certain level, there would only be 5 bright spots. The spiritual ring could clearly show the cultivation state of an inscriber. With a thought, he put away the spirit ring. Immediately, Lu Ming's mind sank into the green mental energy fire. Boom! In an instant, Lu Ming's mental energy extended out of his body and flew out, floating in the air. At this moment, the entire world was colorful in his eyes. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Lu Ming could clearly sense the various colors, heaven and earth attributes and energies. What a wonderful feeling! Lu Ming was extremely curious. His mental energy continued to extend out. However, the further it went, the weaker the energy Lu Ming felt. Let's test the power of the great inscription formation. Lu Ming's mind returned and he stood up. Ta! Ta! He stomped on the ground, and runes appeared on the ground. These runes intersected and gathered, forming an inscription formation. Bang! As Lu Ming took his last step, a combat sword flew out of the formation and slashed at a mound. Bang! The mound was split in half. As expected, an inscription formation can channel the power of heaven and earth to unleash a powerful attack. Is this what a true rank 5 inscriber is? It's indeed wonderful. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Chapter 685. 685 Comprehending the Fourth Force. He had just stepped into level 5 and had only lit one lamp of mind. Later on, the more lamps of mind he lit, the more powerful inscription arrays he would be able to master, and the more powerful his attack power would be. The big array that Lu Ming had just carved was only a level 3 array and its attack power was limited. The combat strength of an inscription master was related to the strength of their mental energy fire, but it was also greatly related to the inscription formation they mastered. The stronger one's mental energy fire was, the more heaven and earth power one could control. The more powerful the formation was, the more terrifying its power would be. The seven-colored Taoist's mental energy fire has some experience. He even has alchemy techniques and the Tao of array formations. However, it's too complicated now. I'll sort it out after I refine all of his mental energy fire. Now, I'll just wait for the inscriptions and the array. Before that, I'll put the Tao of inscription aside. In any case, the earth core flowing flame was refining the seven-colored Taoist's mental energy fire at all times. His mental energy fire was becoming stronger at all times, so he didn't need to care about it now. Prison-suppressing steel. Lu Ming planned to study the second bloodline prison-suppressing steel and the prison-suppressing heaven technique. With a thought, the prison-suppressing steel appeared. Prison-guarding steel, what is it suppressing? The 9 hells? Lu Ming smiled faintly. The fog in front of the prison-suppressing steel had dispersed, but the other places were still shrouded in fog, looking very mysterious. What? At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly realized that he could feel an extremely heavy feeling lingering in his heart. It was extremely clear. This is the earth? Yes, this is the earth force. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He stepped on the ground and slowly he seemed to have become one with the earth. Earth force. Yes, this is the earth force. The prison-suppressing steel is really amazing. It can actually let me feel the earth force so clearly. Lu Ming knew very well that this was all because of the prison-suppressing steel. In the past, he did not have such a feeling when he was standing on the ground. However, he had it now. It seemed that the prison-suppressing steel was very compatible with the earth. Lu Ming had a feeling that as long as he wanted to comprehend the earth force now, he would be able to do so very quickly and master it. Do I need to comprehend it? Lu Ming was a little hesitant. Once he comprehended earth force, the force he could control, and even the heaven-earth intent realm would become 4 types. His cultivation speed would definitely become slower. The more intense one comprehended, the greater the repelling force would be, and the harder it would be to cultivate. Lu Ming had to consider it. Let's take a look at the prison-suppressing heavenly art first before considering. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. The information about the prison-suppressing heaven technique appeared in his mind. During this period of time, he had not properly looked at the prison-suppressing heaven technique. Instantly, all the information related to the prison-suppressing heaven technique reverberated in Lu Ming's mind. After more than an hour, Lu Ming opened his eyes. What a wondrous martial technique! Lu Ming's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Without a doubt, the prison-suppressing heaven art was a martial skill and a bloodline martial skill. However, it was very different from other martial skills. First of all, the prison-suppressing heavenly art did not have any fixed moves. It was more like a battle technique. After successfully cultivating it, one could use the power of the bloodline to suppress everything with the power of the prison-suppressing steel in every punch, palm, and even kick. The power was extremely terrifying. When one reached the highest level, not only could they use their hands and feet, but every part of their body could be used for battle. Their back and shoulders could contain the power of the prison-suppressing steel and release terrifying attacks, turning them into killing weapons. Also, the prison-suppressing heavenly art didn't have a specific grade, and it had a lot to do with bloodline power. The stronger the bloodline power, the more powerful the prison-suppressing steel would be. If a 9th-level king bloodline was awakened, the power of the prison suppression heavenly art could barely reach the power of the first level of a low-tier demigod martial technique. If a first-level divine bloodline was awakened, the power of the prison suppression heavenly art could even reach the power of the 6th level of a low-tier demigod martial technique. Demigod level. Lu Ming's eyes glowed brightly. For others, the level of the bloodline that they could awaken was fixed. However, Lu Ming could keep on advancing. This martial arts technique was simply too suitable for him. However, the prison-suppressing heaven technique had a requirement, which was to use the earth mentality as the main force to unleash the strongest power. This was because the earth mentality was the most compatible with the prison-suppressing steel. Looks like I still need to comprehend earth force. Lu Ming's lips curled into a bitter smile. However, Lu Ming made a decision very quickly. He would comprehend it. Comprehending the momentum of the earth and the will of the earth would greatly increase his combat strength. Moreover, if he were to integrate the will of the earth into the Dragon God's 3 absolutes in the future, the Dragon God's 3 absolutes would transform into a low-grade demigod martial technique. It could be said to be killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Lu Ming went through the details of the prison-suppressing heavenly technique in his mind in detail. Then, the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline emerged. Lu Ming planned to start comprehending the force of the earth. When he had some mastery over it, he would combine it with the force of the earth and cultivate the prison-suppressing heavenly technique together. He took out the path-understanding ancient tree and placed it beside him. Lu Ming's mind became extremely clear. He seemed to have become one with the ground. He seemed to see the island going all the way down to the bottom of the ocean, merging with the endless earth. A feeling of heaviness, magnificence, vastness, and vicissitudes rippled in Lu Ming's heart. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming's body also exuded a heavy, grand, vast, and ancient feeling. Earth force, elementary level. At this moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes. He suddenly stood up and struck out with his palm. Boom! This palm seemed to be extremely heavy, as if it could crush space. There was an explosion and Lu Ming stopped. He frowned and muttered, "No again." At this moment, he was cultivating the prison-suppressing heaven technique. Boom! Boom! Lu Ming used his palm, his fist, and his fingers at times, slashing at the air continuously. Just like that, Lu Ming cultivated for 3 consecutive days. 3 days later, every time he struck out with his palm, it was as if his palm contained a huge mountain, causing the air to rumble and explode. After cultivating for more than 10 minutes, Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. After 3 days of cultivation, the prison-suppressing heaven technique could be considered to be at the beginner level. However, Lu Ming could only use it with his hands now. There was still a long way to go before he could use it with his feet. As for using it with his entire body, the distance was even greater. For the past few days, Lu Ming did not continue to comprehend earth force. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that the earth force was still at a low level to integrate it into the other 3 intents. Otherwise, when the earth force was at a high level, it would be even more difficult to integrate. The stronger the fire, the stronger the rejection. Let's go and see how little Qing's cultivation is going. Lu Ming walked to the other side of the island. Xian Yanqing was cultivating on the other side of the island. When they arrived at the other side of the island, they saw Xian Yanqing standing by the shore, frowning in deep thought. Chapter 686. 686 Closed-door cultivation. Little Qing, have you encountered any problems in your cultivation? Lu Ming walked over and stood side by side with Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing's dress and black hair fluttered in the sea breeze. At this moment, Xian Yanqing looked like a goddess who had descended to the mortal world. I don't know why. The destruction intent and the wind intent are always lacking a little and can't be combined. Xian Yanqing said. Could it be that the destruction intent is too strong, so the rejection force is stronger? Lu Ming made a guess. Not bad. Xian Yanqing nodded. Indeed, it was as Lu Ming had guessed. The will of destruction was an extremely powerful and terrifying will. It could destroy everything and was even more powerful than the star will of the Saint Stars. As for the wind concept, it was one of the 9 commonly seen concepts. Compared to the destruction concept, there was still a gap. Hence, it was even more difficult to fuse them. This was like a poor man and a rich man trying to become friends. It was very difficult. However, it was much easier for 2 poor people or 2 rich people to become friends. The destruction intent realm was equivalent to the rich, while the wind intent realm was equivalent to the poor. They were on different levels, and to put it more accurately, it was the destruction intent realm, which disdained to merge with the wind intent realm. Lu Ming pondered for a moment, then said, "Little Qing, try to use this to comprehend." He waved his hand, and the path understanding ancient tree appeared on the ground. At first, Xian Yanqing was stunned, but after sensing it, her expression changed drastically. As she sensed it more carefully, her expression became more and more interesting. Could this be the legendary path understanding ancient tree? Xian Yanqing looked at Lu Ming, his voice trembling. His eyes were filled with disbelief. That's right. I'm lucky to have obtained a withered branch of the path understanding ancient tree. I didn't think that it would actually sprout. Lu Ming smiled faintly. You're showing me such a valuable thing. Aren't you afraid that I'll have evil thoughts and take it away? Xian Yanqing blinked his big eyes and looked at Lu Ming. Will you? Lu Ming smiled. Poochie. Xian Yanqing laughed out loud. At this moment, her smile was extremely bright and happy. Her beautiful eyes blinked as she stared at Lu Ming, as if she wanted to carve him into her heart. How is it? Are you very touched and are you going to devote your life to me? I'm not ready yet. Lu Ming said with a smile. Promise your head. Lend me this path understanding ancient tree for 2 days. Xian Yanqing's mouth twitched and his eyes flashed. Since you're so sincere, I'll reward you. With that, Xian Yanqing suddenly stood on his tiptoes and kissed Lu Ming on the cheek. Then, with a flushed face, he hugged the pill furnace that was planted with the ancient tree of enlightenment and ran to the side to cultivate. Hee. Lu Ming touched the spot where Xian Yanqing had kissed him and smiled foolishly. Brat, why did you come here? You made this lord search for you. Dandan's voice was heard. It strode with its short legs and ran wildly in the air, flying toward Lu Ming. Have you finished carving the inscription and inscription formation? Lu Ming looked at Dandan. Yes, it's done. I'm so tired, but let me tell you, my cultivation is limited. The highest I can inscribe is level 5 inscriptions and some level 5 inscription arrays. I can't do anything higher. I need to recover more first. Dandan spat out more than 10 jade tokens and handed them to Lu Ming. Only level 5. Lu Ming muttered. Little brat, I'm telling you, don't underestimate my inscription and inscription formation. I have mastered many inscriptions and inscription formations that you don't have here. They are all very rare and powerful. Many of the formations are not inferior to those level 6 formations. With your spiritual power, the power you can exert is definitely not weaker than ordinary level 6 formations. Dandan explained proudly. Oh, seeing that you've worked so hard, these spirit herbs are your reward. Lu Ming took out some level 5 spiritual herbs and threw them to Dandan. Dandan gritted her teeth. With its status, why did it need others to reward it? It was always the one who rewarded others. Now, Lu Ming, this young fellow, actually took out a few level 5 spiritual herbs and said that it was a reward. This made Dandan so angry that her turtle shell fluctuated. What's wrong? Don't. Lu Ming said. Yes, of course I want it. Dandan hurriedly put away the spirit herbs, warning herself in her heart that she had no choice but to lower her head when she was under the roof. Then he ran away happily. Lu Ming took out the jade card that Dandan gave him and started to read it. Some were level 4 and level 5 inscriptions, while some were all kinds of inscriptions and formations. After Lu Ming read it, he began to comprehend it. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. Xian Yanqing returned the path understanding ancient tree to Lu Ming. How is it? Any gains? Lu Ming asked. I've gained something. Come, let's fight. I need strong pressure. Xian Yanqing said. That's exactly what I want. I was just looking for you to fight. Lu Ming smiled, and the earth's force emanated from his body. He also wanted to fight Xian Yanqing and combine the earth force with the other 3 intents. Xian Yanqing's eyes widened and he exclaimed, Earth force, you've actually comprehended earth force again. Yeah, there's no other way. Lu Ming sighed softly. What a freak. Xian Yanqing mumbled. Lu Ming was speechless. Boom. Boom. After a while, deafening rumbles sounded on the island. In the sky above the island, 2 figures kept clashing, and the sky kept shaking. After exchanging a few hundred moves, the 2 of them stopped and began to comprehend. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Every day, the 2 of them would take out a period of time to fight to promote the fusion of intent. In the rest of his time, Lu Ming would cultivate the prison-suppressing heaven technique, comprehend and cultivate various inscriptions, and fight with inscriptions. Lu Ming had gained a lot. He was improving every day. He was already able to inscribe many inscriptions and inscription formations that Dandan had given him. As for the prison-suppressing heaven technique, Lu Ming had already cultivated it to his feet. Every punch, palm, and kick of Lu Ming seemed to contain a prison-suppressing steel that suppressed everything. However, using the prison-suppressing heavenly art really consumed too much true yuan. Lu Ming's essential core was much more vigorous than other martial artists of the same realm. However, it still consumed a lot of energy and he could not sustain many moves. He would use more than half of his primeval essence after a few moves. It should be known that even Sea of Soul Realm experts rarely had low-grade demigod-level martial skills. Many low-level Sea of Soul Realm experts had cultivated high-level heaven-level martial skills. Some unaffiliated cultivators, who were poorer, still cultivated heaven-level lower-class martial arts techniques. Normally, only high-level Sea of Soul Realm experts could fully unleash the power of low-grade demigod martial techniques. The prison-suppressing heavenly art can be my trump card. I'll try not to use it often. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. As for the earth force, its fusion with the other 3 intents was also progressing very quickly. It was only a little bit away. After all, Lu Ming had the experience from the previous 2 times. In addition, the earth force was still very weak. It would be faster to merge it. As for Xian Yanqing, after such a long period of cultivation, he finally managed to merge the destruction and wind concepts successfully. Xian Yanqing's combat strength increased rapidly. The power of the fusion of the destruction and wind concepts shocked Lu Ming. On this day, the key to the martial emperor's treasure finally changed. Chapter 687. 687 9 keys appear at once. Lu Ming, the last key to the martial emperor's treasure, has finally appeared. Xian Yanqing flew over with a small jade sword in his hand. Lu Ming's hand moved and a jade sword appeared. At this moment, the 9 patterns on the hilt all lit up. They flickered with a dazzling light. Lu Ming was also excited. The 9 keys had finally appeared. This meant that the martial emperor's treasure was about to be opened. Let's pour in our true qi and see what changes there are. Lu Ming said. Xian Yanqing nodded. Together with Lu Ming, they poured their vital essence into the jade sword. The jade sword trembled slightly. Then, a map appeared in the air. There's a change. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The map started to change. Slowly, the dot enlarged. Lu Ming and the rest realized that the map of the chaotic astral ocean was getting bigger and bigger in front of their eyes. On the map, there was still a point that pointed to a certain place. As the map changes, all the other regions on the edge of the map have disappeared. Only the chaotic astral ocean is left on the entire map. That point points to a sea region to the north of the chaotic astral ocean. Their eyes lit up. Apparently, that was where the treasures of Martial Emperor were. Everyone, can you hear me? At this moment, a voice came from the two jade swords. The voice was rough and sounded like a middle-aged man's. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were shocked. Why was there a sound? Could it be the artifact spirit of the jade sword, or the sound that was sealed inside when the jade sword was being refined? But at this moment, another voice was heard. Who are you? From the voice, it seemed to be a young man. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing looked at each other. It did not seem to be what they had thought. Everyone, you must have obtained the key to the Martial Emperor's treasure, right? I'm one of them. The rough voice began to speak again. What a magical formation. It can actually transmit messages to each other. Hee, it seems like the 9 keys already have an owner. At this moment, an old voice was heard. It seemed to be an old man, Yu Ming. That's right, the 9 jade swords can communicate with each other. Where are you now? We already know about the location of the treasure, so we should head over to open it. The rough voice continued. Hee, I've arrived in the chaotic astral ocean long ago. Old Oyu's voice sounded. I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. The young voice rang out. I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. At this moment, another voice was heard. It was a new voice, very young. Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming's expressions changed slightly when they heard the figure. They were familiar with the voice. Jian Filiu, that's right, it was Jian Filiu's voice. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He activated his essential core and poured it into the sword. The King of Hell? The voice from the jade sword went silent. After a while, it said, Shura. His voice was filled with surprise. Not bad, Lu Ming said. This time, he was sure that the other party was really Jian Filiu. They didn't call each other by their real names. The Martial Emperor's treasure was a matter of great importance. They couldn't reveal this information now. It seems that some of you know each other. What a coincidence. Is anyone still here? I'm also in the chaotic astral ocean. Where are the others? A rough voice sounded. After that, there was a moment of silence. A moment later, another voice was heard. I'm in the chaotic astral ocean. I'm here too. 2 new voices rang out in succession. In this way, a total of 7 voices were heard. Xian Yanqing didn't speak. Other than him, there was only one other person. Everyone, I estimate that there's still half a month's journey left. Everyone, why don't you wait for me at the treasure trove first? At this moment, a clear and melodious voice was heard. It was a woman's voice. She sounded very young and a little timid. Half a month? All right, we'll go over and wait for you. A rough voice sounded. Wait a minute. Let's discuss this first. The Martial Emperor's treasure is of great importance. No matter if it's real or fake, we can't reveal it. You guys didn't leak it, did you? Old Oyu's voice sounded. It's about the Martial Emperor's treasure. How could I tell anyone? I'm the only one. The others chimed in. That's good. Let's meet at the location of the treasure. Old Oyu's voice was heard, and then there was no other sound. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing retracted their essential core and the map disappeared. Lu Ming, what do you think? Xian Yanqing asked. We can't trust these people completely. Who knows if they've brought other people with them? We can go to the treasure ground first, but we can't show our slaviers. Lu Ming said. I think so too, Xian Yanqing nodded. Although he didn't know whether it was true or not, it was still a serious matter concerning the Martial Emperor's treasure. Therefore, he had better be careful. Let's go. It's a long journey from here to our destination. Xian Yanqing said. Lu Ming nodded and called Dandan. The 2 of them rose into the air and flew in the direction indicated on the map. After flying for half a month, they finally got close to the sea. The 2 of them looked at the map and concealed their auras. They flew high in the sky and looked down. It should be that small island. Lu Ming pointed to a small island in front of him. That small island was the location indicated on the map. There were 9 huge stone pillars on the island. They were like mountain peaks, but not a blade of grass grew on them. Moreover, the 9 stone pillars were like 9 combat swords, pointing straight up. Lu Ming looked. There's someone there. Xian Yanqing whispered. Lu Ming looked over. Indeed, there was a figure sitting cross-legged on one of the sword-like stone pillars. From a distance, he looked like a middle-aged man. He's alone. Let's find an island nearby to settle down and act according to the situation, Lu Ming said in a low voice. Xian Yanqing nodded. They had to be careful. Other than Jian Filiu, no one else knew who the other masters of the martial emperor's treasure were. They didn't know their cultivation or background. If a high-level spirit ocean or spirit embryo realm expert came and they appeared rashly, the other party would attack and kill them. Then if they went out rashly, wouldn't that be courting death? The two of them retreated and found a small island 10,000 miles away. They landed on it. They planned to cultivate while waiting for an opportunity. During the half a month of travel, they did not neglect their cultivation. In their minds, they constantly comprehended various martial skills. Lu Ming, in particular, was more familiar with the use of various inscriptions and inscription arrays. Moreover, the 7-colored Taoist's mental energy fire was almost completely refined. Lu Ming had already lit 10 green mental energy lamps. Great Circle of the 5th level alchemist. Every level was perfected. The amount of energy consumed was terrifying. The 7-colored Taoist's mental energy fire could only help him up to this point. He was almost done refining. Lu Ming could only rely on himself if he wanted to break through to level 6. Chapter 688. 688 Chapter 688 Falling into a Trap. However, Lu Ming was already very satisfied. Even Lu Ming himself did not know how powerful the complete level 5 mental fire, in addition to the inscription arrays given to him by Dandan, could be. However, it was definitely stronger than his martial arts battle prowess. The 7-colored Taoist's experience and knowledge of the Tao of inscription were integrated into Lu Ming's mind along with the mental energy fire. These were precious treasures. They were the 7-colored Taoist's 1,000 years of experience in cultivating the Tao of inscription. However, Lu Ming still needed to spend some time to master it if he wanted to use it for himself. The two of them landed on the island and cultivated while waiting. 2 days later, Lu Ming secretly went to the small island to take a look and discovered that there was an additional person. A young man was sitting cross-legged on another stone pillar. Lu Ming did not show himself. He returned to the island. At this moment, there was movement in the jade sword. Lu Ming took it out and injected his essential core into it. A sound was heard. Everyone, I've arrived at my destination. Brother Lu is with me. When will you arrive? A rough voice sounded. It should be the burly man. I'm on my way, let's wait a few days. Old Oyu's voice sounded. Me too. Lu Ming replied in the same way. The other voices also gave similar answers. Everyone, I've already arrived at the chaotic astral ocean, but it'll still take me 10 days to reach my destination. I'm really sorry. The timid voice sounded. It's fine to wait for a few more days, but let's set a rule. Those who come to meet us should show their jade swords. This way, both sides can prove their identity to avoid any misunderstandings. The rough voice said. All right, I have no objections. That's good. A series of voices sounded. Xian Yanqing remained silent. One reason was that Xian Yanqing didn't like to talk. Another reason was that they didn't want to reveal one jade sword. It might be useful at a critical moment. Lu Ming kept the jade sword and continued cultivating. He was able to integrate the 7-colored Taoist's experience very quickly, and his understanding and application of the Tao of inscriptions were advancing at a tremendous pace. Of course, all inscription masters lean towards different directions. Some lean towards forging, some lean towards refining pills, some lean towards creating talismans, and some lean towards formations. The 7-colored Taoist's focus was on alchemy, followed by formations. Lu Ming's knowledge and experience in refining pills increased rapidly. Of course, His array technique also improved very quickly. On the island, Lu Ming's footsteps were continuous. Without a sound, the ground was covered with inscriptions. At the same time, he waved his hands and inscriptions flashed in the air, flying into the surrounding trees and rocks. After a while, he stopped. "Boy, your luck is really enviable. A perfected level 5, the 7-color Taoist's experience, and your abnormal talent in inscription. Now, you're completely a qualified true inscription master." On the side, Dandan sighed endlessly. It was not easy to get Dandan's praise. After all, Lu Ming had only been in contact with the Tao of inscription for a short period of time and his foundation was lacking. Although the cultivation of the mental energy fire was very fast, other things could not make up for it. A large amount of time was needed to accumulate. However, now that Lu Ming had integrated the 7-color Taoist's experience, he skipped this step. His experience, mental energy fire, and other aspects were on par. Of course, this was an opportunity that could not be replicated. The 7-color Taoist had rushed into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness on his own in an attempt to occupy Lu Ming's body. Other inscriers would not do the same and rush into other people's sea of consciousness. Lu Ming happened to have the earth core flowing flame and the underworld god visualization method. With his achievements in the Tao of inscription, Lu Ming put more effort into the cultivation of martial arts. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days passed. Every 2 days, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing would go to the island to observe. There were more and more people on the island. There were already 5 people there. Even the timid woman had arrived. "Everyone's almost here, let's go meet them," Lu Ming said. Those 5 people had been living together in peace these few days, so there shouldn't be any problems. "All right." Xian Yanqing nodded. The 2 of them headed towards the island. Soon, they were approaching the island. The 2 of them did not hide their whereabouts. When they arrived, the 5 people on the island naturally discovered them. "Who are you?" One of the burly men spoke in a rough voice. Lu Ming's hand moved and a crystal jade sword appeared. The other 5's eyes lit up, and a jade sword appeared in each of their hands. "Sir, I've said before that you're not allowed to tell anyone else. What do you mean by bringing one person here?" The burly man's face turned cold. The others' expressions turned cold as they looked at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. "She's my wife." "But I can't even bring my wife?" Lu Ming held Xian Yanqing's hand and smiled. Xian Yanqing's face turned red and he gritted his teeth. This guy took advantage of him again. However, under such circumstances, she could not deny it and let Lu Ming hold her hand. "Wife?" The burly man's eyes flashed. "Since she's my wife, I think she should be fine." A timid voice sounded. The owner of this voice was a young woman. She was very beautiful and looked very weak. However, from her aura, she seemed to be a peak-tier king. "All right, since that's the case, brother, please come to the island," the burly man said. Lu Ming nodded. He pulled Xian Yanqing along and landed on the island. Step by step, they walked towards a stone pillar in the center of the island. No one noticed that every time Lu Ming took a step, there would be a faint light flashing at the place where his feet touched the ground. Soon, they were approaching the stone pillar, but at this moment, something strange happened. The 5 people on the stone pillar moved in a flash and surrounded Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing from 5 different directions. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing's expressions changed slightly. "Everyone, what is the meaning of this?" Lu Ming's gaze swept the surroundings. "It's simple, hand over your jade sword." The burly man sneered. "So you want my jade sword? But even if I give it to you, it's not enough for you to share." Lu Ming said, "Ha kid, you don't need to divide us. We're from the same force, so why do you need to divide us?" Old Ou sneered. However, Lu Ming's heart sank. This was because old Ou's voice was clearly not the same person as the voice he had heard from the jade sword. "Have you noticed? During this period of time, they all came and then, they all died." The delicate woman spoke, but at this time, she didn't feel timid and her voice was very cold. "A trap, everything was a trap." Lu Ming's mind was spinning rapidly. The others are all dead. Lu Ming's eyes flashed and he said coldly, "That's right. Kid, let me tell you. We already have 2 jade swords. That's why senior brother Zhong Mo and I put on an act. I've actually arrived a long time ago, but I said I wasn't. I just wanted to lower your guard." The delicate-looking woman sneered, as if she was very proud. The senior brother Zhong Mo he was referring to was the burly man with the rough voice. No wonder it was only the 2 of them who had been talking earlier. No one else had spoken. Once the others opened their mouths, they would have been exposed. Boom. Boom. The auras of the 5 of them exploded and locked onto Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Chapter 689. 689 Chapter 689 Breaking out of the encirclement. Apart from the weak woman, who was a peak tier king, the others were all at the spiritual ocean tier. The strongest was the burly man, who had reached the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier. Bang! Bang! At this moment, 7 to 8 figures suddenly flew out from the surrounding soil. "Why are you talking so much nonsense? There are only 2 jade swords left. Kill them directly and don't let the last one with the jade sword discover you. Finish the battle quickly and clean up the scene." One of the white-haired and white-bearded elders spoke. His body emitted a powerful cultivation, the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. This elder had a cultivation at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. These people were all from the same force. It was obvious that the people who had come here before had been killed by them in a thunderous manner. That was why Lu Ming had not noticed them even after coming here several times. Is Jian Filiu also dead? Lu Ming had an idea. It was a pity that such a genius had died in the hands of these people. "Wait a minute, I can give you the jade sword, but you have to let us go," Lu Ming shouted, pulling Xian Yanqing and moving to the side. Every time he moved, a faint light would enter the ground under his feet. "All right, hand over the jade swords of your own accord, and I can consider sparing your lives." The burly man sneered. The others revealed mocking smiles. This kid was really naive. How could they possibly go around them? Lu Ming scanned his surroundings. These people were all experts. Of the 7 that appeared later, 2 were peak king tiers, and the other 5 were all experts of the spiritual ocean tier. The strongest was naturally that white-haired elder, who was at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. He was definitely someone from a big force. This force was stronger than the entire Golden Sand Island. Lu Ming's mind was racing. He moved his hand and the jade sword appeared in his hand. "Senior, I'll leave it to you." Lu Ming's essential core exploded and the jade sword in his hand turned into a bolt of lightning, shooting towards the white-haired elder at an extremely fast speed. The white-haired old man subconsciously reached out to take it. This was the moment that Lu Ming wanted. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming suddenly took 2 steps on the ground. Instantly, the ground glowed with a brilliant light. Countless inscriptions burst out and turned into 2 combat swords, slashing toward the south. There were only 2 first-level spiritual ocean tier martial artists in the south. Out of the 4 directions, that side was the weakest. Lu Ming wanted to break out of the encirclement to the south. Damn it, inscription formation. When did he inscribe the inscription formation? A furious roar rang out, and everyone exploded with a powerful aura. But he was still too late. Pucci! How could those 2 Sea of Soul Realm experts have thought that 2 mere peak tier kings would dare to attack and inscribe a large inscription formation without them knowing? He wanted to block it in a hurry, but he could only use 50% of his strength. It was cut in half by 2 combat swords. "Let's go!" Lu Ming hugged Xian Yanqing's waist and used the 9 Dragons' Heaven stomping steps to rush south. In the blink of an eye, they were already 10 miles away. "Damn it! Where do you think you're going?" The white-haired elder caught the jade sword and let out an angry roar. He pointed his finger at Lu Ming. A finger force crossed the distance of 10 miles in an instant and was aimed at Lu Ming's heart. Fast, too fast and terrifyingly powerful. The 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier was simply too powerful. Sky Devil Force Field. Destroy. Xian Yanqing tried his best to block it with the Sky Demon force field. At the same time, Lu Ming's blood meridian burst out and his figure continued to dodge to the side. The powerful finger force pierced through Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming's defense. Although Lu Ming tried his best to dodge, he was still a little too slow. His arm was grazed by the wind of the finger force, and a large piece of flesh was torn off. Lu Ming's arm almost exploded. Buzz! Runes flickered on Lu Ming's body and entered his and Xian Yanqing's bodies. They were runes that sped up the process. At the same time, runes flashed on Lu Ming's body. This was the rune of a vital essence explosion. Now, Lu Ming could inscribe some of the inscriptions that Dandan used in the past in an instant. Buzz! Lu Ming cast the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps, and his speed was unbelievably fast. In an instant he was far away. Behind him, the white-haired elder, the burly man, and the others quickly caught up. The killing intent on their bodies was so thick that it couldn't be dispersed. They had miscalculated. This time, they had miscalculated. They were merely 2 peak-tier kings. With their powerful battle power, they were already cautious enough to surround 2 peak-tier kings. This was simply a matter of certainty. Not even in their dreams did they think that the 2 of them would actually be able to rush out. Last time, they had been careless and let a young man rush out. So this time, they all moved out and surrounded the 2, but they still got out. The main thing was that Lu Ming's inscription formation was too powerful. It could actually kill 2 experts at the first level of the spiritual ocean tier in an instant. They chased after him with all their might but realized that Lu Ming's figure was getting further and further away. The 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps was unleashed at full force. With the help of various inscription arrays, Lu Ming's speed was unbelievably fast. Not long after, Lu Ming had already disappeared from the sight of the white-haired elder and the others. Damn it, damn it! The white-haired old man roared like a mad demon. The burly man and the others appeared behind the white-haired old man with gloomy faces. Sect leader, that kid's inscription Dao is too strong. He's definitely a true inscription refiner, a rank 6 true inscription refiner. Otherwise, he can't be so strong. The muscular man said to the white-haired elder. Like I said, the younger you are, the more you have to go all out. The young geniuses these days are too strong. We were careless before and were pushed out by a kid. This time, these 2 young people are even more terrifying. Although you said, the young man from before is fine. He was injured by you and my 5 poison palm, so he's definitely dead. However, it's a little troublesome if these 2 escape. The burly man said, all right. Although he has escaped, we have already obtained the Jade Sword. Now, we are only missing the last Jade Sword. We have to get it as soon as possible. Before the news spreads, we have to open the Martial Emperor's treasure, get the treasure inside, and leave this place. This is the opportunity for our blood poison sect to rise again. We can't let any accidents happen. The white-haired old man said in a deep voice. Sect Master, although the owner of the last Jade Sword hasn't said anything, I think he will be here soon. This time, we will definitely take him down. The burly man said. After that, everyone returned to the small island and continued to lay out their plans while waiting. Lu Ming brought Xian Yanqing along and flew for hundreds of thousands of miles before landing on a small island. Lu Ming, are you all right? Xian Yanqing was extremely worried and looked at Lu Ming with concern. I'm fine. That finger force was poisonous. However, poison is useless to me. Lu Ming smiled and controlled the 9 dragon bloodline to devour the poison on his arm. After the poison was removed, the wound on his arm began to recover at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. After half a day, Lu Ming's arm had completely recovered. Whew! Lu Ming let out a breath of turbid air. Chapter 690. 690. How have you been? This time, it was really dangerous. If not for Lu Ming's rapid progress in the Tao of inscription and his ability to inscribe powerful inscription formations, as well as his caution in secretly inscribing inscriptions when he stepped onto the island, they would have been in danger this time. Even if Lu Ming risked his life to use the lightning cauldron, even if Xian Yanqing had some life-saving methods, the difference between them and a fourth-level spiritual ocean tier cultivator was too great. They would most likely die. No matter how powerful the lightning cauldron was, with Lu Ming's current peak-tier king cultivation, he would definitely not be able to kill a fourth-level spiritual ocean tier cultivator. He might not even be able to kill a third-level spiritual ocean tier cultivator. It's a pity, Jian Filiu. Lu Ming sighed softly. This was how the world of martial Dao worked. No matter how much of a genius you were, if you weren't careful, you would fall. In the long river of history, who knew how many geniuses had fallen? Those who could truly rise up and reach the peak were few and far between. Little Qing, let's go. That group wants to monopolize it. Hee, how is that possible? Let's go and give them a big gift. Lu Ming sneered. You want to spread the news? Xian Yanqing said. That's right. Since they want to monopolize it, we can only muddy the waters. Only by muddling the waters can we fish in troubled waters. Lu Ming sneered. That's exactly what I want. It's best if a stronger expert appears and exterminate them. Xian Yanqing's eyes flashed coldly. Let's go to the Wind Moon Island first. This island is even bigger than the Golden Sand Island. We'll spread the news there. I believe that it'll quickly spread throughout the chaotic astral ocean. Lu Ming took out the map and took a look. Then, the two of them rose into the air and flew in the direction of the Wind Moon Island. There's someone down there. After flying for a short while, Xian Yanqing suddenly pointed to the sea. Lu Ming looked over and saw a figure floating on the surface of the sea. Golden light emerged from its body and the fish around it did not dare to approach. That looks like Jian Filiu. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The figure on the surface of the sea did look like Jian Filiu. The two of them landed on the surface of the sea. Lu Ming used his essential core and rolled them up. He was slightly shocked when he saw that this person was really Jian Filiu. Why was Jian Filiu here? Lu Ming had thought that Jian Filiu had been killed by that group of people. He's still breathing. He's not dead, but he's been deeply poisoned. Xian Yanqing frowned. Let's go back to the island and save the people first. Lu Ming said. The two of them returned to the small island. There was a golden light emitting from Jian Filiu's body. It should be the doing of the Golden Sword Pagoda. However, it did not stop Lu Ming from saving the person. He controlled the bloodline of the 9 dragons and devoured all the poison in Jian Filiu's body. This poison was very powerful. If it had been a few days later, Jian Filiu would have died. As soon as the poison was removed, the vital essence in Jian Filiu's body circulated automatically and began to heal. After 2 hours, Jian Filiu opened his eyes. Brother Lu, it's you. Jian Filiu was extremely surprised to see Lu Ming and the rest. Brother Jian, you're heavily injured. You should recuperate first. Lu Ming said. No, wait a minute. Brother Lu, Monsieur, you must not go to the Martial Emperor's treasure ground. The Blood Poison sect is setting up a trap there to seize all the jade swords. The others are all dead. Jian Filiu cried out anxiously. Brother Jian, it's too late now. We've already been there. Lu Ming smiled faintly. What? He's been there? You guys? Jian Filiu was a little stunned. He had been there, but Lu Ming and the rest were fine. I did give my jade sword to them, but we seized the opportunity and escaped. Lu Ming said. You gave them the jade sword? Alas, it's a pity that the Martial Emperor's treasure is going to fall into the hands of those despicable people. Jian Filiu sighed unwillingly. They want to keep the Martial Emperor's treasure for them Slaviers. It's not that easy, they won't be able to gather the last jade sword. Lu Ming smiled faintly. A jade sword appeared in Xian Yanqing's hand. Jian Filiu was stunned, then he was overjoyed. Ha! Man proposes, God disposes. It turns out that Brother Lu and Miss Xie each have one. I wonder what the expressions of those people from the Blood Poison sect will be like when they find out. All right, Brother Lu, what do you plan to do next? Of course we're going to muddy the waters. The more muddy the better. Brother Jian, are you interested in joining us? Lu Ming said with a smile. Of course we'll go together. Jian Filiu said with excitement. At this moment, the jade sword in Xian Yanqing's hand glowed. Do you want to know their reaction? We'll know soon. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He took the jade sword from Xian Yanqing's hand and channeled his vital essence into it. Instantly, a rough voice was heard. Your good friend, the 8 of us are all here. Only one more is left. Friend, where are you? It was the voice of the burly man. Lu Ming and the other 2 did not make a sound. That's right, my friend. We're only short of you. As long as you come, we can open the martial emperor's treasure and take out the treasures inside. If we delay any longer, I'm afraid that there will be more problems. It was the timid voice of a woman. Cough, cough. Lu Ming coughed a few times. Instantly, the other side became excited. Where are you, brother? The burly man asked. Once you're here, we can immediately start opening the martial emperor's treasure. Hee, this friend is finally speaking. May I ask where you are? Are you in the chaotic astral ocean? The timid voice sounded again. Everyone, I hope you're well. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke. Then, the jade sword immediately fell silent. There was no sound at all. After a while, a rough voice sounded. It's you. That's me. You guys are so forgetful. Lu Ming said with a smile. You actually have 2 jade swords? How is that possible? The rough voice was filled with disbelief. Brother, what do you want? A timid voice sounded. Your blood poison sect is very powerful. The few of us can't compete with you. Therefore, I plan to pull all the brothers and sisters in the chaotic astral ocean to share the martial emperor's treasure. Isn't this a good idea? Lu Ming said with a smile. You have to spread the news. No, you can't do this. Damn it, you can't do this. The rough voice roared. Idiot. Lu Ming said. Then he heard a rough voice and heavy breathing. It was obvious that he was angry. Little brother, let's talk this over. I promise you that as long as you come over, we won't touch you. After we enter the martial emperor's treasure, we'll split the keys equally. How about it? At this moment, an old voice rang out. It was the voice of the blood poison sect leader. I'm not interested. Lu Ming said. Little brother, what do you want then? The blood poison sect master said. That's easy, I want your heads. Lu Ming sneered. Little brother, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't go too far. Otherwise, it won't do you any good. Seeing that the discussion was not going to work, the sect master of the Shuedu sect began to threaten. Chapter 691. 691 Muddling up the water. Old man, has your head been gnawed on by a dog? You're still threatening me? I believe that the news of the martial emperor's treasure will soon spread throughout the exposed starry sea. Lu Ming said with a smile. No, brat, if you dare, I will kill you. I promise. The blood poison sect master roared in anger. However, at this moment, Lu Ming stopped the infusion of essential qi and his voice disappeared. I really want to see the expressions of the blood poison sex people. Jian Filiu laughed. He felt very comfortable. Their expressions will definitely be very interesting. Lu Ming said. Indeed, the expressions of the blood poison sex people were truly fascinating. Damn it, that bastard, the next time I see him, I'll skin him alive. The burly man roared continuously. His eyes were wide open as if they were about to spew fire. Everything was planned, but I didn't expect that guy to have 2 jade swords. Damn it. The weak woman gritted her teeth and her eyes were filled with hatred. The others were the same. Their faces were ashen, and the veins on their faces were twitching. The feeling of having nowhere to vent their anger was too uncomfortable. They were so angry that they almost vomited blood. They were just one step away from success, but they had failed at the last step. The next time I meet him, he'll definitely die. The sect master of the Shuedu sect gritted his teeth. Sect master, what do we do now? Someone asked. There are 9 keys. We can't open the Martial Emperor's treasure without one. We can only wait. The sect master said helplessly. One day later, Jian Filiu's injuries were healed. They went to the Wind Moon Island together. The Wind Moon Island was twice as large as the Golden Sand Island. It was very prosperous and had a lot of people. It was said that there were even experts at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier here. After the 3 of them entered the city, they bought a lot of paper and wrote down the news of the Martial Emperor's treasure as well as the specific address on the paper. At night, they scattered the paper everywhere. As expected, the entire Wind Moon Island was in an uproar the next day. Lu Ming and the other 2 had scattered too many pieces of paper. They could not hide it even if they wanted to. Very quickly, the news spread throughout the Wind Moon Island and countless people were discussing this topic. In a restaurant, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Jian Filiu were eating and drinking while listening to the news from nearby. You should have heard the news about the Martial Emperor's treasure, right? Nearby, the voices of the other tables could be heard. Of course I did. Now, everyone on the Wind Moon Island knows about it, but we don't know if the Martial Emperor's treasure is real or fake. If it's real, why would someone spread the news everywhere? Could it be a prank? I don't know. A Martial Emperor's treasure. There are so many Martial Emperors in the entire East continent. Is there really a Martial Emperor's treasure? It's a little mysterious. No matter what, the Martial Emperor's treasure is too amazing. Even if there's only a 1 in a million chance that it's real, I still want to take a look. If it's real, I'll benefit endlessly as long as I can get even a little bit of benefit from it. That's right. I'm only afraid that it's real. I'm not afraid that it's fake. Lu Ming and the other 2 looked at each other and smiled when they heard the voices nearby. With such a wide spread, many people would doubt the authenticity of the news. However, the Martial Emperor's treasure was too amazing and tempting. Even if they suspected it was fake, most people couldn't resist the temptation and would go to take a look. This was the effect they wanted. In the next few days, the news spread further and further. Some people had even set off. As for Lu Ming and the other 2, they hid in the Wind Moon Island and cultivated with all their might. If it was really a Martial Emperor's treasure, there would definitely be a fierce fight after it was opened. Therefore, the more powerful they were, the better. In a mountain range, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were fighting with all their might. Now that Xian Yanqing had successfully fused 2 intents, his main task was to help Lu Ming fuse Earth Force and the other 3 intents. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days had passed. After 7 days of bitter cultivation, Lu Ming had finally successfully integrated the force of the Earth into the 3 concepts. 3 intents and 1 force had been successfully fused. In a hotel room, Lu Ming entered the Supreme Shrine and sat cross-legged. In front of him was a pile of profound meaning crystals and 22 middle-grade fire-type profound meaning crystals. Lu Ming planned to use the esoteric crystals to start breaking through to the 2nd level of the intent realm of heaven and earth. If his intent could break through to the 2nd level, his combat strength would definitely increase greatly. He picked up a piece of ultimacy crystal and crushed it. Next to the path understanding ancient tree, Lu Ming began to cultivate. Not long after, Lu Ming crushed another mid-grade fire attribute ultimacy crystal. Just like that, Lu Ming crushed the pieces one by one. He stopped after crushing a total of Tulavir pieces. Just a little bit more, but just that little bit. I just can't break through. Lu Ming muttered. Now, his fire concept was only a little bit away from level 2. It was not even half a step away, but it was stuck and couldn't be broken. It seems like the 2nd level intent realm of heaven and earth is indeed different from the 1st level. It can't be continuously improved just by relying on profound meaning crystals. It also needs comprehension. Only by using comprehension to break through the bottleneck and then combining it with the profound meaning crystals can it continuously improve. Lu Ming pondered. It was obvious that he had reached a bottleneck in his fire attribute concept. Lu Ming did not continue to attack the fire element concept. Instead, he took out a middle-grade wind element profound meaning crystal and started to attack the wind concept. Just like the fire intent, after refining a dozen middle-grade wind element intent crystals, his wind intent had also reached the peak of the first level. It was only a bit away from the second level, but it was still stuck. Lu Ming shook his head and smiled bitterly. It was very difficult to break through to the second level of the essence realm of heaven and earth. No wonder there were so many peak-tier king tiers, but there were so few spiritual ocean tier ones. Take Tianxin region's Tianxin subpalace as an example. There were at least 50 or more peak-tier kings among all the elders, traveling elders, and elders in seclusion. But as for spiritual ocean tier, there were only two: the Sheng family's head, Xing Tsang and Mu Tian. The same was true for Golden Sand Island. They had sent over 500 peak-tier king tiers to battle the sea beasts, and some of them had even died on the life battle platform. However, how many Sea of Soul Realm experts did they have? As long as one's talent wasn't bad, and with the accumulation of resources, it wasn't hard to reach peak-tier king tier with the passage of time. Some people could become peak-tier kings after cultivating for a few hundred years. However, many people would be stuck at the peak-tier king level, unable to break through in their entire lives. One could only imagine how difficult it was to break through the spirit sea. At this moment, Lu Ming stopped cultivating. It was almost time for them to set off. After a while, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Jian Filia flew toward the island where the martial emperor's treasure was. A few days later, they arrived at the island. There was a sea of people, a real sea of people. They were densely packed. At a glance, they were all human figures. There were at least hundreds of thousands of them, maybe even close to 1 million. These are the people from the nearby seas of the chaotic astral ocean. The people from the other seas have yet to arrive. The three of them squeezed through the crowd. He really had to squeeze. Chapter 692. 692 Opening of the Martial Emperor's Treasure. Damn, is there really a Martial Emperor's Treasure? Why isn't it open yet? I heard that there are a total of 9 keys to open the door. The Blood Poison sect has 8 of them. They're short of 1, and it's in the hands of a young man. He hasn't come yet. Some people speculate that the news was released by that young man. He's probably coming soon. Let's wait a little longer. Sounds of discussion could be heard from the surroundings. After much difficulty, they managed to squeeze to the front. Countless people surrounded the island in the air. Lu Ming's group squeezed to the front and saw the Blood Poison sect's people standing together with ashen faces. There were more than a dozen people around them, and each of them had an imposing aura and was extremely powerful. They were actually all experts at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. Among them, there were even experts even stronger than the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. Everyone from the Blood Poison sect, how have you been? Lu Ming squeezed to the front and laughed heartily. Everyone from the Blood Poison sect looked over. Little bastard, you finally appeared. You're looking for death. Kill that little bastard. When the Blood Poison sect disciples saw Lu Ming, their eyes burned with a raging fire. They glared at Lu Ming, their killing intent incomparably thick. Lu Ming took a few steps back and squeezed into the crowd. He said, "What's wrong? You want to fight? There are so many experts here, let's see how you guys are going to kill them." Everyone from the Blood Poison sect roared in anger, but they could do nothing. There were too many people here and they were all experts. Lu Ming was in the crowd. How could they attack? Once they made a move, they would implicate others and cause public anger, and they would be the ones to die. They could only glare at Lu Ming, wishing they could skin him alive. The Martial Emperor's treasure was supposed to fall into the Blood Poison sect's hands. They had been looking forward to the Blood Poison sect's rapid rise, but what about now? There were so many people, more than a dozen at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean realm, and even stronger experts. Now that they had opened the Martial Emperor's treasure, they could at most drink a mouthful of the soup. Whether he could drink this mouthful of soup or not was still a problem. All of this was Lu Ming's fault. It was all Lu Ming's fault. How could they not hate him? As for the fact that they were the ones who made the first move and wanted to monopolize the martial emperor's treasure, they would never think about it. In their opinion, it was what they should do, and the others had to fulfill their wishes. The others also looked at Lu Ming. Could it be that the last key was in Lu Ming's hands? Lu Ming smiled and a jade sword appeared in his hand. He flung the jade sword at an elder in a green robe. "Senior, I'll give you this key," Lu Ming said. The green-robed elder's aura was unfathomable and even stronger than the Xue Du sect masters. The green-robed old man extended his hand and caught the jade sword. A smile appeared on his face as he said, "Not bad, little guy." Then he looked at the blood poison sect and the others. "Take out your keys and open the martial emperor's treasure together." Damn it. The sect master of the Xue Du sect roared in his heart. He was extremely unwilling, but so what? He had no choice but to take it out obediently and open the martial emperor's treasure. If they didn't take it out, the only outcome would be death. 8 jade swords appeared in the hands of the blood poison sect disciples. Buzz! When the 9 jade swords appeared together, the 9 jade swords started to move. They trembled slightly, and complicated patterns appeared on their surface. What a wonderful inscription, what a brilliant inscription formation. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Now, his Tao of inscription was already considered pretty good, so his vision was naturally different. He could tell at a glance that the inscription formation on the 9 jade swords was very profound and could even be said to be mysterious. Buzz! Just at this moment, the 9 sword-like stone pillars on the island also started to shake. Inscriptions appeared on them and echoed with the 9 jade swords. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, the 9 jade swords left everyone's hands and flew towards the 9 stone pillars. Each jade sword corresponded to a stone pillar. In a flash of light, the 9 jade swords flew into the 9 stone pillars and disappeared. At this moment, the 9 stone pillars glowed brightly and 9 beams of light shot up into the sky like 9 divine swords. A terrifying scene appeared. The sky above the island was originally filled with people. At this time, when the 9 sword lights rushed out, those people exploded and turned into powder. They didn't even have the chance to scream. "Retreat, retreat." Terrified screams rang out, and countless people frantically retreated. Lu Ming and the rest were not directly above the pillar of light. They had just avoided the disaster and were now retreating frantically. It was too terrifying. At least 10,000 people had died just now, and there were even Sea of Soul Realm experts among them. However, under that light pillar, they couldn't resist at all. Some people's eyes lit up. It seems that it might really be a martial emperor's treasure. Even if it's not a martial emperor's treasure, it's still a big deal. Boom! The 9 pillars of light converged into one in the air, and the power grew even stronger. Boom boom boom. At this moment, the island started to shake violently. Then, everyone saw the island split into 2. Moreover, the 2 holoviers of the island were separated by dozens of miles. In the middle of the island, a whirlpool appeared. Endless sea water began to spin, turning into a hole. It was a huge sea whirlpool and no one knew where it led to. Boom, boom, boom. The vortex spun and rumbled with astonishing power. Could it be that the martial emperor's treasure was under this vortex? Everyone hesitated. No one dared to go down first. After a long while, someone finally couldn't hold it in anymore. A white-haired old man stepped out and said, "Since I don't have much lifespan left, I might as well take a gamble." This elder was a peak-tier king, and his 1,000 years were up. If he couldn't break through to the spirit ocean realm, he would die of old age. This martial emperor's treasure was an opportunity for him. At the spiritual ocean tier, one's lifespan would be increased by another 1,000 years, and they would have a lifespan of 2,000 years. He rushed into the vortex and went down with it, disappearing in the blink of an eye. "It's fine, there's no problem." Many people's eyes lit up. "Charge!" Then, another group of people rushed down. "Ah! This time, someone screamed as his body was torn apart and he died in the whirlpool. But some people rushed in. The person who died was a martial grandmaster and a martial king realm martial artist. Don't worry, a martial king realm martial artist can withstand the power of the vortex. That's right. A martial emperor's treasure, a martial grandmaster ant. You must be dreaming if you want to get your hands on it. Charge. Immediately, more people rushed down. They were all martial artists above the martial king realm. As expected, they were fine and disappeared into the center of the vortex one by one. More people flew down. After a short moment, those Sea of Soul realm experts also couldn't hold back anymore and flew towards the vortex. The people from the blood poison sect cast a cold glance at Lu Ming before they flew into the vortex and disappeared. As for the martial arts grandmasters, they were extremely unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. There were even some martial arts grandmasters who did not believe in heresy and rushed down, eventually dying tragically. Soon, large groups of martial king and martial artists rushed into the vortex. There were roughly no less than 100,000 people. Chapter 693. 693 A Strange Place. Brother Jian, do you want to go? Lu Ming looked at Jian Fili. Of course we're going. We can't miss the martial emperor's treasure, no matter if it's real or fake. Jian Fili's eyes were extremely firm. A Heaven's Pride expert was a Heaven's Pride expert not only because of talent and perseverance, but also because one had to firmly grasp the opportunity. If there was an opportunity in front of them, but one did not dare to grasp it, then one could not be called a Heaven's Pride expert. All right, let's go together. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Jian Fili rushed toward the vortex together. As soon as he entered the vortex, Lu Ming felt a strong tearing force from the surrounding seawater acting on his body. However, this power could only pose a threat to martial arts grandmasters. It was nothing to them. The three of them followed the vortex and went down. Very soon, they reached the bottom of the sea, but they did not stop. There seemed to be a huge cave at the bottom of the sea. It was pitch black inside the cave. From inside, there was a strong suction force that pulled Lu Ming and the others down. Lu Ming realized that he was extremely small under this attractive force. It was difficult for him to resist. The next moment he, Xian Yanqing, and the others disappeared from the cave. It was pitch black all around him. There was no sound or movement. Lu Ming could only feel that his body was constantly descending. He had no idea where he was going to land. Could it be that the martial emperor's treasure is deep underground? Lu Ming pondered in his heart. He kept descending. He did not know how long he had been descending for. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt that the sky and earth were spinning, as if he had taken a cross-domain teleportation array. The next moment, he found himself in midair and his body was falling rapidly. He hurriedly circulated his essential core and his expression changed slightly. He found that the circulation of true yuan here was much more obscure than before, as if it was facing a strong resistance. Even flying became more strenuous than before, and the speed of flying had slowed down a lot. Lu Ming controlled his body and floated in the air, sizing it up carefully. There was no moon or sun in the sky, but there seemed to be stars high up in the sky. However, these stars were all crimson and scattered with crimson light. This was where the light source was. Below him was an endless land. Where is this place? Is it some other region or deep underground? Lu Ming frowned. Previously, he felt that he was falling to the ground. Little Qin, Jian Filiu is gone. Lu Ming muttered. Then, with a thought, Dandan appeared on his shoulder. Before he came in, Lu Ming had already stuffed Dandan into the supreme shrine. Dandan, do you know what this place is? Lu Ming asked. Dandan's eyes scanned the surroundings. After pondering for a moment, she shook her head and said, I don't have any impression of this place. It's so strange. It doesn't seem to be on the ground. Since he did not know, Lu Ming did not ask further. He sized it up for a while and then landed on the ground. What? After landing on the ground, Lu Ming's gaze flickered. This piece of land was actually a cemetery. As far as the eye could see, there were huge tombs everywhere, one after another, connected together. There's someone. Lu Ming saw a figure flash in front of him. It was a peak-tier king. Lu Ming moved and followed them. Slowly, he realized that there were more and more people in front. In the end, he found that there were about 1,000 people in front of him, scattered over there. Everyone, do any of you know what this place is? Someone asked. I don't know. Didn't they say it was the Martial Emperor's treasure? Why did it land here? There are tombs everywhere. Where is the treasure? Or, the Martial Emperor's treasure is somewhere else? We need to find it ourselves. That's true. If it really is a Martial Emperor's treasure, it won't be so easy to get it. Everyone chimed in, expressing their own opinions. Little bastard. Suddenly, a loud roar was heard. Lu Ming could feel a cold, killing intent enveloping him. He turned around and saw a burly man with a murderous look in his eyes. The man was glaring at Lu Ming. It was the brawny man from the blood poison sect, Zhong Yimou. This person was an expert at the 3rd level of the spiritual ocean tier. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He did not expect to meet the burly man the moment he entered this place. The burly man's face revealed a ferocious smile. A powerful aura emanated from his body, like a vast ocean that enveloped Lu Ming. Nearby, the others couldn't help but make way. The attack of a 3rd-level spiritual ocean tier powerful being was extremely terrifying. They were afraid of being affected. Little bastard, this is your fate. You are destined to die in my hands. Let's see how you're going to run away today. Thump. Boom. Before he could finish his sentence, the burly man strode toward Lu Ming like a wild beast trampling on the ground. Lu Ming retreated at top speed. With every step he took, he would stomp on the ground and a ray of light would flash. Whoosh! Whoosh! When the burly man rushed over, runes appeared on the ground, forming a long spear that pierced through the air. The power of the spear was extremely terrifying, and even a Sea of Soul Realm expert would be killed if he was not careful. However, the burly man threw a punch and shattered the spear's radiance. He continued to charge toward Lu Ming without stopping. Little bastard, although your Tao of inscription is strong, how can a formation you set up in a hurry do anything to me? I will definitely kill you today. Boom. Boom. The burly man shouted and punched out with both fists. 2 mighty fist auras were blasted toward Lu Ming. Heaven and earth shook violently, and the space seemed to be pierced through. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming, causing his muscles to tighten. Bang! Lu Ming stomped on the ground and runes appeared, forming 2 shields in front of him. His figure retreated rapidly. With 2 loud explosions, the 2 shields were shattered. The fist force did not stop and continued to blast toward Lu Ming. The 3rd level of the spiritual ocean realm at its peak was too powerful. Lu Ming was no match for it. Even though Lu Ming's current Tao of inscription was extremely powerful, it was still only at level 5. Let's go. Lu Ming used the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps to avoid the fist radiance. He was about to use the 9 dragons' heaven-treading steps again to leave this place when... Whoosh! Whoosh! All around them, a sharp sound suddenly rang out. From all directions, endless arrows shot towards them, covering the sky and the earth, enveloping everyone in it. Not good, there are people here. Many people's expressions changed. They used their cultivation to block the arrows from all directions. Boom! Boom! Just as they were about to knock the arrows away, the arrows suddenly exploded. The power was extremely terrifying, and many low-rank kings were instantly killed, screaming in pain. More than 10 arrows exploded around Lu Ming, causing him to take a few steps back. As for the burly man, he didn't know if it was because the strength he had just shown was too strong or because he was unlucky, but there were actually hundreds of arrows shooting at him. Although they didn't hurt him, they made him quite embarrassed. Fire! A loud shout came from the distance. Immediately, another wave of arrows came from all directions. They were so dense that they covered the sky. Chapter 694. 694 Encountering the Puppet Army. Who's that? Lu Ming's pupils suddenly constricted. He saw that there was a rune on each arrow. The rune was not even the size of a palm and was stuck to the arrow. As soon as the arrow hit its target, the runes on the arrow would explode and release a huge amount of energy. The explosion of the arrow was caused by these runes. Buzz. Buzz. Lu Ming's figure flashed rapidly, trying his best to avoid the arrow and not come into contact with it. Boom. Boom. Violent explosions rang out continuously, accompanied by waves of miserable screams. Many people were killed. However, most of the people who were killed were martial artists below the 4th level Martial King realm. Those above the 4th level Martial King realm had used their intent and powerful true origin to protect themselves and withstand the power of the explosion. Whoosh. Whoosh. However, the arrows continued to come, and the sky was filled with the violent sound of the air being torn. Not good. Lu Ming's expression changed. He realized that there were a few arrows that were terrifyingly fast. They were several times faster than the other arrows and reached him in an instant. He dodged quickly, but there was still an arrow that he could not avoid. It landed in front of Lu Ming, and Lu Ming's quintessential essence exploded, forming a quintessential essence shield. With a bang, the arrow exploded. What a powerful arrow! This arrow has astonishing penetrative power. Lu Ming's expression changed. Although he had shattered the arrow, he was fine because of his profound cultivation and rich essential core. But others were not so good. Even more screams were heard. Many martial artists at Level 4 Martial King realm and above had their Zhen Yuan shields pierced through. Their bodies were pierced by the arrows, and they died an unnatural death. Only the martial artists at the 7th level of the Martial King realm and above managed to block the arrows, but it also consumed a lot of their vital essence. Runes again. Lu Ming realized that there was a rune attached to the arrows with high penetrative power. The green rune could greatly increase the speed and penetrative power. Whoosh. Whoosh. Before one wave was over, another wave came. Just now, the burly man's combat strength was so strong that he was probably the focus of attention. Arrows were shot at him continuously, leaving him no time to chase after Lu Ming. Charge. Charge in one direction. Otherwise we'll all die. Someone shouted. Charge, charge in one direction. Everyone joined forces and charged in the same direction. Just now, they still had more than 1,000 people, but in this short while, they only had 300 to 400 people left. More than half of them had been killed. Hundreds of people charged in one direction, instantly breaking through the arrows. Boom, boom, boom. The earth rumbled, and howls came from ahead. They were the howls of Walevers. Smoke and dust filled the air, and giant waves appeared, rushing towards them. On each of the giant Walevers, there was a figure. These figures were dressed completely different from them. There were men and women. The women were covered in beast skins, revealing their slender legs. The men were bare-chested, wearing beast skins. Their skin was bronze in color, and they carried longbows on their backs. Kill. These people have trespassed the forbidden area. Kill them all. A brawny man shouted. The giant wolf howled and stomped on the ground, charging toward Lu Ming and the rest. On Lu Ming's side, attacks of sword chi, saber radiance, and the like burst out, slashing at the huge waves. Clang. Clang. When their attacks landed on the giant Walevers, there was a sound of metal clashing. The giant Walevers were not afraid of the attack and rushed over, their claws as sharp as blades. A Level 7 Martial King realm martial artist's protective genuine vitality was torn apart by the wolf's claws, and then his body was also torn apart. It wasn't just one person who ended up like this, but many. A puppet. This is a puppet. Lu Ming's spear swept out and sent a giant wolf flying. His pupils shrank slightly. These giant Walevers were not made of flesh and blood, but were puppets made of various metals. His body was as strong as Vajra and indestructible. Most importantly, there were too many puppets. Chapter 695. 695 The Underground World. Lu Ming landed in a forest. The trees here were extremely strange. They were dark red in color and were completely different from the trees that Lu Ming had seen before. Lu Ming did not have the time to think. He took out a pile of top-grade spirit crystals and started to recover his essential core after devouring them. Half an hour later, Lu Ming's essential core had recovered. Suddenly, his expression changed as he looked at the sky. More than 20 people have flown over here and landed. They are all from the chaotic astral ocean like him. These people were basically all peak-tier kings. They had only managed to break out of the encirclement and come here. However, each of them had suffered injuries of varying degrees. They naturally saw Lu Ming. Seeing that Lu Ming was dressed the same as them, Fin heaved a huge sigh of relief. A few of them stood guard while the rest recuperated. Lu Ming did not speak. He sat cross-legged not far away, but his mind was constantly thinking. What was this place? And who were the people who attacked them? He seemed to be dressed in ancient clothes and was actually wearing animal skin. In the Divine Wilderness continent, Lu Ming had heard that only tribes in extremely remote areas would wear animal skins. Most importantly, those people could actually refine runes and make puppets. This was strange. Runes and puppets were both branches of the Tao of inscription. Just like inscription rune scroll, only true inscription blacksmiths could create them. There were actually many true inscription refiners among these humans who were dressed like primitive tribes. An hour or two later, the 20-odd people had almost recovered. Everyone, do you know who those people are? And what is this place? Lu Ming asked. During the battle just now, I thought I heard someone call us extraterrestrials. Is this place really underground? A rather refined middle-aged man muttered. Underground? It can't really be underground, right? There's a world underground? Some people were very surprised. The others didn't make a sound, but they knew in their hearts that it was most likely true. When they came in earlier, they had kept falling, and they didn't know how far they had fallen. If it's really underground, then we're in trouble. How do we get out? Someone said worriedly. Since we came in through the entrance of the Martial Emperor's treasure, we can definitely get out. But first, we have to figure out the situation here. Lu Ming said. That's right, this little brother is right. The middle-aged man nodded. What? At this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed. He looked at the sky and his expression changed. Not good, those people are chasing us. Let's go. With that, Lu Ming rose into the air and flew into the distance. The others were slightly stunned and turned their heads to look. Sure enough, they saw hundreds of giant wallevers in the distant sky. They spread their wings and flew over at high speed. Go, quickly go. Their expressions changed drastically, and they rose into the air one after another, flying forward wildly. Lu Ming's speed was very fast. He shook off the puppet wallevers and landed 10,000 miles away. This time, he landed in a valley. As for the middle-aged man and the others, they had already separated from him. However, a few hours later, the giant wolf puppet actually caught up with them again. What's going on? Why do those people know where I am and can accurately find me every time? Lu Ming furrowed his brows as he pondered. He flew forward at high speed and soon, he shook off the giant wallevers and landed in a forest. Lu Ming scanned his surroundings carefully. Suddenly, his eyes flickered and he drew in the air. Runes appeared and landed on an ancient tree. Inscriptions appeared on the ancient tree, forming a mysterious inscription formation. All of them were destroyed. After breaking the array in this area, Lu Ming took a rest in this area. As expected, after a long time, no one came after him. Where should I go next? Could it be that the Martial Emperor's treasure is only used to lure people in and has no other purpose? Lu Ming was very puzzled. He felt that this matter was very strange. That's because the entrance to the chaotic astral ocean was definitely set up by someone outside. Therefore, there's definitely a purpose for it. Perhaps, the real Martial Emperor's treasure is hidden in this underground world. I'd better figure out a way to understand the distribution of the underground world first. It'd be best if I could blend in. Only then will I know what to do next. Lu Ming pondered. Just as Lu Ming was making conjectures, there was a huge ancient city more than 100,000 miles away. This ancient city was basically built with stones. The city walls were made of stone, and so were the buildings in the city. In the middle of the ancient city, there was a huge stone hall. At this moment, a group of people was discussing something. Most of them were old men, and they were all wearing animal skins. At this moment, a burly man was reporting to the old men. A person from the outer world? Could he really be a person from the outer world? A chubby old man muttered to himself as he frowned. Could it be that the ancient legend is true? When the people from the outer realm descend, there will definitely be a son of heavens who can revive the ancient ancestor and once again teach the great Tao to the major tribes. Legends don't come from nowhere. Every tribe has such a legend. Whoever can find the chosen one and revive the ancient ancestor will be highly valued by the ancient ancestor and be taught supreme techniques. One by one, the elders express their opinions. This is a chance for us, the Heavenly Wolf tribe. Pass down my order. We can only capture the extraterrestrials alive. If it is not necessary, we cannot kill them. We must capture more extraterrestrials than the other tribes. The oldest man said, "Yes, clan elder." The burly man accepted the order and left. The chosen one must be in the hands of the Heavenly Wolf tribe. The celestial wolf elder's murky eyes shone with a light that was brighter than the stars. After resting for a while, Lu Ming continued to move. He randomly chose a direction and continued to fly. Boom! After Lu Ming had flown a few thousand miles away, two fist gleams suddenly shot toward him from below. The power was terrifying. Zhong Mo. Lu Ming's pupils constricted. He took 4 consecutive steps with the 9 dragons' heaven stomping steps, and the world rumbled. He blocked the 2 fist radiance, but Lu Ming's body was sent flying into the sky by the huge force. Lu Ming flew up for 1,000 meters before he stopped. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and his legs were trembling. Die! The burly man from the blood poison sect followed closely behind the fist radiance. With a roar and a tidal wave of killing intent, he threw 2 more punches at Lu Ming. He wanted to kill Lu Ming at lightning speed so that he would not have time to escape. Exploding star fist. Lu Ming threw dozens of punches in a row. Dozens of fist gleams collided in front of him. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's exploding star fist had reached the 6th level. At the same time, Lu Ming's blood meridian burst out and he thrust his spear forward with greater power. He was much stronger and much thicker than many rank 6 true inscription refiners. It should be enough to control this puppet at the 4th level of the spiritual ocean tier. Lu Ming flew up and sat cross-legged on the back of the giant wolf puppet. The giant wolf puppet rose up and flew into the distance, towards the holy mountain. He only needed to consume his spiritual power to ride on the puppet. The puppet's speed was greatly increased. Soon, he had flown for tens of thousands of miles. Chapter 699. 699 Battle of Inscriptions. Lu Ming could not rush in at all. It's too disadvantageous for an inscriber who hasn't reached level 7 to inscribe an array in the air. However, with the strength of my mental energy fire, I don't need to reach level 7 to be able to inscribe an array in the air. Lu Ming was deep in thought as he fought. To the surface. With a thought, Lu Ming controlled the giant wolf puppet to rush to the ground. The others tried to stop him. Thump. Boom. Some of the puppets in front of Lu Ming were knocked away by the giant wolf puppet. Gakudo Path Attack. While he was still in midair, Lu Ming launched a Gakudo attack. He turned into a ray of light and broke through everything. Several Martial King realm puppets in front of him exploded. Lu Ming stepped on the ground. He stomped on the ground and runes appeared on the ground. Clang! 2 swords appeared in the air, and with a single slash, the puppets were cut in half. How could this be? He could control a 4th-ranked divine puppet and even inscribe a great formation? How can his spiritual power be so strong? The old man was shocked. Thump! Thump! The giant wolf puppet knocked aside a bunch of cheetah puppets and appeared beside Lu Ming. Lu Ming's footsteps became faster and faster. Runes kept flashing on the ground and all kinds of attacks were launched in all directions. Use the inscription scrolls and blast him. The young man roared, giving orders from the side. Many people took out inscription scrolls and opened them. All kinds of violent attacks poured down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming took a few steps forward and layers of light screens were formed. However, with a shake, these light screens shattered one after another. After all, the inscription formation was an instantaneous one and its power was limited. It couldn't block the attack of some powerful inscription scrolls. Now! All of a sudden, Lu Ming's eyes gleamed. He stomped his foot and a dazzling spear's gleam shot towards the young man. Some of the puppets in front of the young man and the people on them were either shattered or sent flying. At that moment, Lu Ming mounted the giant wolf puppet and charged towards the young man. His target was this young man. This young man seemed to have a high status. As long as he could take down this young man, he would have a chance to escape. Not good. The old man's expression changed drastically. He wanted to help, but it was too late. The young man's expression changed drastically as well. He retreated quickly and controlled the puppet under him to charge at Lu Ming. At the same time, an inscription talisman appeared in his hand. Bang! The youth's puppet had the strength of the 1st level of the spiritual ocean tier, but the giant wolf puppet sent it flying with a single slap, almost exploding. 9 dragons trampling the heavens. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared beside the young man in an instant. Before the young man could open the inscription talisman scroll, he grabbed the young man's throat with his claw. Around him, the movements of the others came to a sudden stop, stopping in the air. Brat, let me go, or I'll make you die without a burial ground. The young man roared and threatened Lu Ming. He felt very aggrieved. At this time, he was in the air and Lu Ming had grabbed his vital parts. He had a body full of inscription Tao, but he could not use it. Your life is in my hands, and you still dare to threaten me? I only need to use a little force now and you'll be dead. A cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes and a cold, killing intent emanated from his body. The young man felt a chill run down his spine as if he was about to face death in the next moment. His heart trembled and he didn't dare to say anything more. The giant wolf puppet flew over. Lu Ming carried the young man and stepped onto the back of the giant wolf puppet. Chapter 700. 700 Testing the Waters. The young woman and the old man were shocked and stopped as well. Just how long are you guys going to follow me? Lu Ming said coldly. Brother, what are you afraid of? We have no ill intentions. I hope you don't misunderstand. You're an outsider, right? Our tribe just wants to ask you for a favor. The young woman said. I'm not interested. Lu Ming turned around and was about to leave. Brother, all the tribes are looking for you. If you leave our red leopard tribe, you will have to go to other tribes. Some tribes are very evil. If you come to our red leopard tribe and help us, we will do our best to help you if you have any requests in the future. The young woman said. Lu Ming furrowed his brows, pondered, and smiled. What's your name? What's your status in the red leopard tribe? I'm Chi Yuan. The young woman was about to reveal her identity when the old man interrupted her. Miss, don't easily reveal your identity. The old man said in a deep voice. Elder Redbeard, don't worry. It'll be fine. I am the daughter of the Red Leopard tribe's chief. If you follow me back to the tribe, the Red Leopard tribe will definitely treat you as an honored guest. Chi Yu smiled and continued. The Red Leopard tribe's chief's daughter. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His eyes flashed as he looked at Chi Yu and said, How can I believe you? How about this? You come with me to the mountain ahead, I have something to discuss with you. Lu Ming pointed to a mountain range in front of them. No, little brother, your request is too much. How can we trust you? Elder Redbeard shouted. Oh, if that's the case, then there's no room for discussion. Don't follow me. Lu Ming waved his hands and turned to leave. Wait, I'll go with you. Yusuf. Miss, you can't. It's too dangerous for you to go alone. Elder Chi Su objected. Elder Redbeard, don't worry. I have no enmity with him. He won't benefit from killing me. Chi Yu smiled and controlled the puppet to fly towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He did not expect Chi Yu to dare to follow him. Lu Ming controlled the giant wolf puppet and flew towards the mountain range with Chi Yu in the front and behind. Elder Redbeard could only stand there anxiously. 100 miles away, the two of them landed in the mountain range. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he destroyed all the surveillance runes nearby. I heard that your inscriptions are profound, and it seems like it's true. Chi Yu looked at Lu Ming, her eyes bright. Lu Ming turned around and looked at Chi Yu with a smile on his face. The next moment, his figure turned into a flash of lightning and he suddenly rushed toward Chi Yu. At the same time, the giant wolf puppet let out a low growl and also charged at Chi Yu. Chi Yu was taken aback. She never expected Lu Ming to make a move so suddenly. She could only control the cheetah puppet to block while she retreated at top speed. She waved her hands continuously and inscribed runes. The two puppets collided into each other and fought fiercely. Lu Ming's figure stopped and he stomped on the ground. Runes appeared one after another and formed a combat sword, slashing at Chi Yu. Chi Yu's inscription was a huge red cheetah that pounced forward. Chi Yu's Tao of inscription was extremely profound and had reached rank 6. She was also a true inscription refiner and had probably lit several rank 6 spirit lamps. She was also very powerful. The two of them finished inscribing the array in an instant, but Lu Ming also had a powerful martial arts cultivation besides the Tao of inscription. Lu Ming pointed his finger and a dazzling spear ray pierced forward, aiming at Chi Yu's throat. Chi Yu was shocked and retreated again. However, as he retreated, the inscription was interrupted. If it were not for the support of some elders, it was estimated that the Red Leopard tribe would have been exterminated by the 3 major tribes. As for the seal on the canyon, it was set up by the 3 tribe leaders. It was extremely complicated, and the inscription formation was unique to the 3 tribes. Unless the 3 tribe leaders worked together to break it, the Red Leopard tribe would not be able to break it. Therefore, when Chi Yu saw that Lu Ming knew so many inscriptions and formations, she wanted him to give it a try. If Lu Ming could break the seal and take out the secret inscription refining manual of the Red Leopard tribe, then wouldn't the elders of the Red Leopard tribe treat Lu Ming like their ancestor? All right, let's go and take a look. Lu Ming nodded. If he wanted to be valued by the other party and if he could give the other party a little favor, it would be the best. All right. Chi Yu was overjoyed. She brought Lu Ming to the place where the previous tribe leader of the Red Leopard tribe was sealed. According to Chi Yu, that place was very close to the Red Leopard tribe's city, only 100 li away. It was a huge mountain range. There were huge mountain peaks that pierced the sky. They were steep and majestic. There were 2 huge mountain peaks in between, forming a canyon about 10 meters wide in the middle. This canyon was the place where the Red Leopard tribe's previous chief was sealed. There were experts from the Red Leopard tribe guarding this place. As soon as Lu Ming and Chi Yu arrived at the entrance of the valley, they saw dozens of figures guarding the entrance. Tiha? It's you? How dare you? Men, kill this person for me. They had just reached the entrance of the valley when they heard a loud shout. What are you guys doing? Stop. Chi Yu shouted, and the others, who were about to make a move, stopped. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled into a cold smile. The one who called for a fight was a young man. It was Chi Feng, who he had previously held hostage. Chi Feng's eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Lu Ming, then at Chi Yu. Chi Yu, why are you protecting him? This person has killed many of our Red Leopard Tribe's people. He should be executed on the spot for his crime. Qifeng, the clan elders have said long ago that we should be polite to the people from the outer realm. We should invite them instead of fighting. You were the one who started it first, so Lu Ming naturally resisted. You can't blame him for this. To cut off the only chance for the Red Leopard Tribe to rise? Qiyu was very strong, staring at Qifeng and loudly questioning. Qiyu? I didn't mean that. Qifeng's voice lowered. All right, Feng, since the other party has come to the Red Leopard Tribe, he is a guest of the Red Leopard Tribe. You don't have to say anything more. On the side, a long-bearded man in his 50s walked over and said, Sixth uncle. Qiyu called out and sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming at the same time. This person was Qifeng's father, her sixth uncle, and also the person in charge of guarding this canyon, Pure Gold Mountain. And why did you bring this little brother here? This is the tribe's forbidden area. Qi Jinshan said. Sixth uncle, Lu Ming comes from the outer world and is an extremely talented inscriber. He has mastered many inscriptions and formations that our Red Leopard Tribe does not have. He might be able to break the seal here and take out the secret inscription manual inside. So, I brought him here to give it a try. Qiyu said. Hearing this, Pure Gold Mountain's face sank. This place is the Red Leopard Tribe's forbidden area. How can we allow an outsider to break in? This is simply nonsense. All right, you should all leave quickly. Pure Gold Mountain waved his hand. Sixth uncle, taking out the Red Leopard Tribe's secret inscription refining manual concerns the rise and fall of the Red Leopard Tribe. It's of great importance. Maybe he can really crack it? Qiyu didn't give in. Chapter 702. 702 deliberately making things difficult for her. Pure Gold Mountain's expression turned even gloomier. What a joke. The Red Leopard Tribe has been sealed here for 60 years. Even with the help of many divine-level alchemists, we still can't break the seal. He's just a young boy, a heaven-level alchemist. How can he break the seal here? It's impossible. You guys should leave quickly. Otherwise, I'll take it as him trespassing the forbidden area and suppress him. Sixth uncle, Lu Ming has not even tried. How do you know that he won't be able to do it? Given the current situation of our tribe, shouldn't we seize every opportunity? Red Moon argued. Impudent, what does a junior know? Hurry up and leave. Chiding the Pure Gold Mountain. I think this seal can be broken. Suddenly, Lu Ming's voice was heard and the scene fell silent. Everyone's eyes were on Lu Ming. Really? Qiyu's eyes revealed a look of ecstasy. Of course. Lu Ming nodded. You're talking big, kid. What are you up to? You want to destroy my Red Leopard Tribe's forbidden ground? I suspect that you are using some kind of evil technique to control Red Moon. You are simply up to no good. Men, kill this brat for me. The Pure Gold Mountain's expression was extremely gloomy, and his killing intent exploded as he shouted. Yes. The people guarding the entrance of the valley all waved their hands, and several cheetah puppets appeared on the ground. They were all spiritual ocean tier puppets. The puppet roared and was about to pounce on Lu Ming. Who dares? Qiyu shouted and stood in front of Lu Ming. At the same time, she summoned her cheetah puppet. Miss Qiyu has already been controlled by this evil person, she can't help herself. Quickly attack, kill that brat and save Miss. The Pure Gold Mountain roared. Kill that brat. Qifeng also roared, his killing intent exploding. Lu Ming's face darkened. With a wave of his hand, the giant wolf puppet appeared and blocked in front of him. He stomped on the ground and waved his hands. Runes appeared on the ground. A great battle was about to start. Stop! What are you doing? At this moment, a loud roar sounded, and a white-haired elder flew over on a cheetah puppet. Second uncle. Qiyu was overjoyed. What's going on? The white-haired elder arrived and scanned the scene. His face was dark. What's going on? Second brother, that brat has controlled you and has ulterior motives. I'm about to kill him. Pure Gold Mountain hurriedly said. Nonsense. Second uncle, Lu Ming is an inscription master from beyond the ground. He can break the seal of the canyon. That's why I brought him here. I didn't expect sixth uncle to want to kill Lu Ming. Chi Yu argued. What? He can break the seal of the valley? The white-haired elder was shocked, and his eyes shone brightly. A layer of blue mental energy fire spread out from the top of his head due to his excitement, and his vast mental energy filled the entire area. Don't be fooled by this man. He's just a heaven-grade alchemist and he's so young. How many inscriptions can he master? How can he break this seal? He's simply talking nonsense. Pure Gold Mountain said coldly. Second uncle, why don't you let Lu Ming try? What if it works? This is related to the rise and fall of our clan, so please consider it, second uncle. Chi Yu shouted. Chi Yu's second uncle was called Chi Jintian. He looked at Lu Ming with a hint of hope in his eyes. Little brother, can you really break the seal here? Lu Ming nodded and said, I've observed it just now. There are 3 different inscriptions in it. The inscriptions are intertwined and there should be more than 100 inscriptions. Although it's mysterious, it has been 60 years. It's not difficult to break it. Lu Ming's words caused Chi Yu and Chi Jintian's eyes to light up, while Chi Jintian's face grew even gloomier. This matter is of great importance. I need to inform the clan leader and the elders. Chi Jintian took out a jade voice transmission talisman and sent a few messages. Then he started to wait. The Pure Gold Mountain knew that he couldn't stop them, so he walked to the side with a gloomy face. Lu Ming glanced at the Pure Gold Mountain, his eyes flickering. This Pure Gold Mountain was very strange. It wanted to stop him from breaking the seal no matter what. Just like what Red Moon had said, this was related to the rise and fall of the Red Leopard tribe. Even if there was a 1 in 10,000 chance, they still had to try. However, Pure Gold Mountain kept stopping him. If it was because of the Scarlet Mountain matter, it was impossible. Just now, when they didn't mention breaking the seal, the Scarlet Mountain was still normal, as if it had intentionally broken the seal. Therefore, Lu Ming felt very strange about all this. Buzz. And NBSP, whoosh. In just a few minutes, 7 or 8 huge cheetah puppets flew over in the howling wind. There was a total of 8 cheetah puppets, and on each of them stood a person. One of them looked to be in his 50s, and his body exuded a dignified aura. Lu Ming guessed that this might be Chi Yu's father, the chief of the Red Leopard tribe, Chi Jinkong. As for the other 7, they were all white-haired old men and old OU. They should be the tribal elders of the Red Leopard tribe. Greetings to the clan leader and the clan elders. The Pure Gold Sky, Pure Gold Mountain, and the guards all saluted. Father, elders. Chi Yu also stepped forward and bowed. Chi Jinkong's eyes were like lightning. He looked at Lu Ming and said, Is he the one you said could break the seal? Although Chi Jinkong was pretending to be calm, he still revealed a trace of excitement. That's right, father. Lu Ming came from the outer world and is the most powerful genius alchemist there. Although he's at the peak of the heaven rank, his mental strength is not weaker than that of a divine rank. Chi Yu stepped forward and held Chi Jinkong's arm as she smiled. The most talented inscription master from beyond the earth. The eyes of Chi Jinkong and the 7 elders lit up. Lu Ming touched his nose and smiled bitterly. This girl was too good at boasting for him. I think you've been deceived by him. It's been said since ancient times that the world beyond the ground is vast and boundless. It's many times larger than this place and has a countless population. It's like sand. How can he be the most talented inscription master? Tribe leader, elders, you must not trust this person. If you make a mistake and cause the formation to explode, destroying the body of the previous tribe leader and the inscription secret manual, then our Red Leopard tribe will be finished. Pure Gold Mountain jumped out to stop him. Sixth uncle? You haven't seen Lu Ming in action. How do you know that his Tao of inscription is not strong? Chi Yu said stubbornly. Since that's the case, why don't you let him show it off? If he wants his spiritual power to be on par with a divine rank inscriber at the heaven rank, he must light at least 7 or even 8 spiritual lamps at every stage. Let him show his spiritual ring. The pure gold mountain sneered. The divine level alchemist he was referring to was, of course, a true level alchemist. At every stage, he had to light up at least 6 spirit lamps. This was already very difficult. He did not believe that Lu Ming could really light 7 or even 8 spirit lamps at every stage. Lu Ming, just show it to someone. Qiyu looked at Lu Ming. She was very confident in Lu Ming. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.